Turn on my mic. Here we go with budget meeting 6, give or take. I'd like to thank Alan for taking the last 2 meetings. I did not want to come in and give you all what I had. So glad to be back here. We are hopefully wrapping up this evening. I know there was a couple of things that we were going to be looking at. One was the chief, one was DeCarlo, and then the transfer station, and I do believe a police officer. So how do we want to start off? DeCarlo, Nick, you guys want to arm wrestle, or who wants to go?
Why don't I,
DeCarlo,
the manager?
just sir.
Can I have, first off, I'd like to give you a little bit of information that we've had before we get started.
Okay.
So you'll see the college sheet, and what the college sheet is we put together. You'll see the tax rate of the mill rate. Since 2018, it's gone down every year. It's currently $12.52. You'll see the school, the county, and the municipal rate. Just a factual piece that you can look at so that the council gets a history. Jen has answered all the questions that were put together from last budget, last request, which we'll go over those. But first, I'd like to start with the economic community developer. Let Carlo answer any questions. You have to talk right into that mic. You gotta turn it on and talk right directly into it. The button on top should be on.
I think so.
Oh, okay.
It's
You
not
gotta talk real close.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, so now.
There you go.
Yep.
And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tim. Sorry about that.
So I think we were just, DeCarlo, I think just kind of interested just to kind of hear your intentions behind the additional position that was asked for. And just speaking for myself, and that's a good place to start.
Sure. Whenever I'm thinking
Get
about
the mic close up.
sorry. Whenever I'm thinking about a new position, I'm not thinking about just my current workload. I'm thinking actually about the structure. You guys know I'm a systems person. I'm thinking about the health of the system itself. And potential points of failure. And right now you have a single point of failure, myself. And so, to ensure that that is not something that sinks the ship, you want to have some backup. And a couple things have cued me into this since I've started. One is that you have regulatory requirements of when applications come in. They're on a legal timeline. They have to be heard in a certain timeline. So that means that anytime those come in, my economic development things go by the wayside. They have to by law. And so anytime that we have a development pattern comes in, I have to stop anything else that I'm doing. And everything that I'm doing for economic development requires me to go out and get more resources for your town. And so when I'm not able to do that, I miss opportunities. That means that funding is missed. And I want to ensure that we're getting all that free money that we can. And so that's one portion. Another portion is the amount of responsibilities really slows down what you're able to do, especially during times of, I would say, great changes. So like state law. And so my role is not only the design of systems, but I'm also the implementer. And so you've gone through a big time of making these plans, and now it's time to implement it. And a lot of that implementation comes on my department, which is a dual department. And so for a reminder right now, for board supports, I support the planning board, the downtown revitalization advisory committee, the comprehensive advisory committee, CAX, which is your MPO. It has to do with transportation. I'm your representative for the Eastern Trail, for stormwater management, and also do council updates. You guys see me all the time. In addition to that, implement the plans and actually create the plans. So we have the active transportation plan that's ongoing that you guys have heard about, wayfinding, open space, water study. You all upcoming, we really should have a Pumpkin Town master plan as that water study concludes. Railroad Avenue property and project, the comprehensive plan update that has to do with 1829, the traffic light project and Shoetown Park. In addition to that, we have arts in public with like the RFP that's being dealt with, as well as pedestrian road improvements. And so that is just on the planning side. On the economic development side, We have a small business pipeline and program creation that, you've heard from me multiple times about. We have business retention and attraction growth, which includes program creation, vetting, funding, contact meeting response, and town event support would actually create support for a lot of these other programs, grant applications and monitoring and management, working on affordable housing, affordable affordability programming, such as like repair class, workforce training, transportation. As you know, but we've lost our bus. We need to think of ways to get more transportation and strategic partnerships, such as like the Rue Institute that we brought before you. And then just straight up the research and formal response. So this is not accounting for anything goes wrong. So if anything's going wrong, you guys need my department's response, then I also stop and do that. So it is substantial amount of stuff that's going on in my department, which is myself and Brittany right now. And you have a single point of failure. And what I'm concerned about is that anytime one portion ramps up, the other portions stall completely, and you're at a point where I don't want you to stall, because if you stall, you miss opportunities such as grants, and the spigot for grants is turning off. And so you need to be able to go after them very quickly and get resources very quickly. An example of that is anytime I'm going to Leadership Maine or any of the economic development conferences or anything, I always come back and bring you something, right? And so if I'm not able to go out and do that, then you don't get those resources, and you have to rely more on direct tax base. So that's one of the biggest reasons I'm asking.
Thank you.
Council, any questions?
Yeah, so I guess I'm interested in the planning and the ED function itself.
Mhm.
What would you see this person doing? Would they be the planner? I mean, how would this look? And I'm asking this because, we had a similar request for HR where they're sort of stretched thin too, or Jen is. And we just jacked up the consulting contracted services budget.
Sure.
By a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess my question to you is that, so I know this position, we're only it's only 20K on the taxpayers, I guess, is that because it's SIP money? But it is 20K. And I guess my question would be, if we substantially increase that contracted services line, to, 40, 50,000. And which could come out of TIP funding, I assume.
With the 75%, I would think.
75% or all? Anyway, so I guess I'm interested in what could that work?
So one of the problems with doing contracted services is that contracted services, they don't know your talent. And what they do know your talent is very cursory. And so you run into situations that you have before when you have consultants doing the reviews is basically what happens is that they miss stuff, and then that stuff comes back to bite. And legal costs and other things like that. For example, we're redesigning your land use regulations based off of state law. And so if you want to give that function to a contractor, it's the same thing as if you were hiring a consultant to do. Well, when the consultant's done, you're left with that system, and the system has to work. So what the position would do, it would do partially, basic plan review, which is a person who's going to be a more expert in your actual revisions, but also they're going to be supporting your small businesses. One of the most important roles that I take very seriously is I do personal outreach to all of your businesses. And that's not something a consultant can do. And opportunities that come from that, grants that come from that, free services that come from that. I will point out the block party that happened last year, that all came no cost to the taxpayer. That's all just because we've done outreach throughout the previous year. The same thing is going on with your spring market. And that outreach works. To give you an idea, today, literally today, because I reached out to some residents here in town that want to start up a pinball business. They couldn't get in contact with a bunch of people who are landlords, and they've been reaching out for the last few months. They were able to call me, and I was able to call the landlord right away because I had the contact, and I got them in touch, and they can open in the next 2 months. And so, having that level of service is really the difference between having a consultant and having someone here. That makes sense.
What was that business? Pinball?
Yeah, it's a pinball.
Okay,
They
I just
didn't
didn't
name
know.
themselves, but yeah, but actually is the provider of that is he owns most of the pinball places in the east on this seaboard. He just happens to be a resident.
I guess my bigger question, so who would be updating our land use ordinances?
So the design would still be at me at a director level. The actual review can then go down to the planner, and then in consultation between the two. As you know, as consultant, every time I pick up the phone to call a consultant, they start billing. And so, and every time that a consultant puts together a draft review and I have to correct that, that's not actually having something off of my plate. That's another time I have to go and correct the consultant and before it goes before a board. In addition to that, when a consultant is here and at the planning board, it's not that level of trust, to be honest. And so you want that level of trust between your planner and your planning board because they're going to be relying on that judgment. And if they don't know who's going to be the person who's showing up at that and doing that review, that trust is just not going to be there.
Any other questions with
I mean, the final thing I would say is, and I would assume it would come up, the two adjoining towns, they have planners and their one person shops, so. I think we need to be prepared to be able to say why you need another person.
Sure.
And they don't.
Yeah,
Because they have a high level, I mean, Berwick is, there's $120 million downtown revitalization.
Sure.
project going.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just,
Oh,
giving you a heads up on that.
yeah, absolutely. And my response to that is that they're not doing well. And so I know both of those directors, and they haven't even started on changing their regulations to be consistent with 1829. They're actually using the stuff that I created to put towards their boards. And so, with that level, is that, it's, do we want to be reactive or are we going to be proactive in making sure that our needs are being met before it becomes more expensive to do that? And that's the only reason why I put that. It's at the end of the day, it's okay if you do not approve this position. I'm just more saying like, hey, you have a gap and this is a risk. And you should be aware of this risk if it's a single point of failure.
I think I don't object to having the position, I would like some, and this is further down the line. Some benchmarks of like where we're going with zoning changes, where we're going with comp plan implementation. I'm understanding that 1829 is most likely, almost assuredly gonna be extended for a year. Which I just heard today. So, I mean, I think we have some time. And I just want to make sure that if approving this position will just keep that momentum going forward.
Sure. I actually sent a draft of our provisions to be consistent with 1829 to our attorney today. And so that's a benchmark. You have your comprehensive advisory committee who's literally their design is to keep you on track on where your progress is. And I'm the one who set up that committee. And they're working with your planning board right now. And so I would expect regular reports from both of that committee as they look to be stood up and as we go forward on provisions. So that's absolutely, I'm right on line.
And don't take any of this as, I think you're doing a great job.
No,
I mean, this is a full-time position.
Yeah.
We're having a tough budget year. And we're trying, we wanted an HR person. We didn't do that.
Sure.
Police wanted 2 people. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm totally aware you guys have a really tough job this year. And this is more of like, hey, there are other needs, just to be aware of that and to keep that in mind as we go forward throughout the years.
And just to clarify, so I think in the expense budget, it's an incremental 20,000 for the planner plus benefits. But we are able to cover 75% of the salary of a new planner with a tip funds, correct?
Correct, yes. And as it's designed, we have designed the TIFs to accrue interest. And so a lot of that will be taken over by the interest, so.
Sam, you have a question?
I know there's a lot of activity related that's it's essentially economic development. Related to economic development in the downtown as it pertains to transportation infrastructure and those improvements.
Right.
I know we've been talking about the Lower Main Street and traffic calming measures there and grants that are available from MainDOT to implement such projects. And I'm wondering how this, if there were to be another you in essence, how would that help propel projects and make sure that these big infrastructure projects related to the traffic light, for example, are implemented in a responsible manner?
Yeah, absolutely. And so for an example, you have 2 traffic light projects going on right now. Some in 2 different phases. You have the downtown multiple traffic light project, and then you have the one next to Marshwood. The one here had an open time that you can have is their digital meeting that had response. If I had more capacity, I can get more of the town responses to respond to that instead of just announcing it and giving it to our basically a public information officer. And so that's one portion. Number 2 is exactly about the grants. We know that there's money out there that could help out with pedestrianization of our downtown, which helps with the downtown revitalization plan, but it takes time to not only apply for that, but manage those grants. And if I see that I don't have the capacity to manage the grants, not alone just apply for it, I don't think it's wise for me to go and apply for this grant or that grant if I'm not able to manage it, because we know that there's penalties that are involved with that. And so this new position would allow more capacity to go after those money. Yeah.
So in essence, and maybe not directly correlated, but having that resource could bring more money to the town.
Right.
What would be expended? It would be a net positive benefit.
Yeah, and an amount of grant. And to give another example, you have a water study that's going to be completed very soon. And then it's time to apply for grants for that water system for Punkintown. So you can either use your TIF funds in order to fund that partially, or you can go after grants, and these are federal grants for commercial development in like an area like Punkintown. Those grants, they take time to apply for and they take time to manage, but it's a lot of money that you could possibly get, and that's in every avenue when it comes to economic development for small businesses, for nonprofits, for ourselves. Even for the CRP grant, right now we're splitting it between departments because we're just whatever has capacity, we're hopping on it. But you've already seen the material benefit from these grants. And adding capacity is always just going to be a good thing.
Joy. Thank you. Go ahead.
And so when Dick Howell brought this position to myself and Jen, we looked at it, listened to exactly what he just said, looked at all the other futuristic scope of projects that he has going on in the work. One of the ones that myself and Councilor Schumacher, Jen kind of did was the updating of the town code town codes. But this 1.5-year project that we've been working on, that'll come back hopefully this year, correct, Paul? Right? Hopefully.
I wanted to ask you about that. Anyway,
But at that particular point, all we did was we updated the code for political correctness and terminology, state laws, all those basic things. We did not change anything substantive in the code that does need updating, which is 140, chapter 140, our land use ordinances, along with chapter 121 or 120?
Yep, 121 is a subdivision ordinance.
Subdivision ordinance. So one of the recommendations we found was that in 3 different places in the code, it talks about stormwater management, one, chapter 140, 2 different places, and then in chapter 120 subdivision. And it was the company's recommendation to consolidate all stormwater into one, either its own separate code ordinance, so that it's easily findable, not in 3 sections, and that's a lot with the code. So in the years to come, that'll be one of the things that's gonna be on Carlo's desk. When the time comes, it's gonna be hundreds and hundreds of hours of looking at, working with Title 140, our land use codes, rewriting those, bringing those to the planning board, doing all that, and with, as Carlo had said, he's a one-man show, so he's not gonna be able to have that continuity, and it was a struggle with me and Paul when we did it, going through it, just to do the stuff we did. It's gonna take a lot of work to continuously update those codes. And one of DeCarlo's remarks to me was that would kind of be the primary push for this position, would be the continuity of updating the codes, checks and balances, presenting him to Carlo while he continues on with the economic development piece. It's no good for us to bring all the economic development in if our codes are still falling behind standards. So we gotta update our codes as well. So that was a piece why I supported it at the manager's level.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Tim. Yeah, I mean, we deferred a ton of stuff. It was just because you were busy. I mean, every time we didn't know what to do, we just said defer it until after.
Someone's
So,
gonna-
I mean, there were literally hundreds of deferrals. So I think, and that's what I was trying to get at before, like, is that gonna be the role of this new person? And you don't need to tell me now, but I mean, I just wanna make sure that with this new position, that we're, because this is a big deal, hiring another person for planning department, that we have a process that's gonna just move that ball forward, because there is a ton of work. It's a ton of work. So.
All right. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. I'm just gonna disappear because I'm not privy to Nick's world.
You're welcome.
That's what we were trying to,
Yeah.
you guys first.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, you're up. I'm up. Gary. Hello. There you go. Beautiful.
Like baritone.
Strange, Mike. All right, so, Tim had reached out and asked me to, after your last meeting, after the last meeting that I was here, to look at, options, alternatives to the 12 full-time firefighter EMTs. And when we got thinking about it, I think we've done a really good job of explaining the EMS portion of the project. I think that's, if honestly, that's been the focal point for the last 12 months of my world, is getting the EMS system up and running. That maybe I didn't do as good of a job explaining that this is a dual role, that this is a 2-year project to not only bring the EMS in-house, but to also bolster the fire department. And I think the easiest way to put it is the third person on the shift is what really solidifies the fire side of the house. So we can run an ambulance with 2 people on it, no problem. It happens all day, every day. It happened today 6 times. But in order to have a functioning fire crew in the event that is becoming more and more common, where we don't have a lot of people around during the day, or we don't have a lot of people around at night, you really need a 3-person engine. So I think with just keeping that part in mind as we go through this, you'll see where I have the urgency to add that third person per shift. That being said, I did run some scenarios. So, I went with the original, the 12 full-time personnel. We ran a scenario where we had, I think, 10 full-time and a couple of, basically the rest of the hours are filled with part-time. Which honestly, it does save money because you're not paying, the benefits, but the part-time labor pool out there is it's so shallow. And I don't have confidence that we'd be able to fill a lot of those shifts with the current, part-time staffing pool. And that's really was one of the downfalls of York Ambulance in the first place, is they rely heavily on the per diem model, and they just don't exist. I mean, or they work full-time somewhere else, and they will bail on an ambulance shift to go take overtime, which happens every single day. And, I mean, I can't say I blame it, but that's really really one of the big struggles I have. And then we stay at 8 and we fill all 4 positions with part-timers, and I don't see that working in any way, shape, or form. It would be spotty at best coverage wise, so. I've looked into it. I've sharpened the pencil as much as I can. I reran the numbers on revenue. I think we're solid there, probably still conservative, but I don't want to commit to too much. But it's really kind of where we're at.
So we sold this last year as a 2-year project.
Mhm.
We had multiple public hearings. They had presentations. We had a presentation at the town meeting. We had a unanimous vote pretty much at the town meeting for EMS services to come back to South Berwick. Everybody that voted last year understood the cost of this in year 2.
2 years of pain.
2 years of pay. Everybody understood. So if we're looking to cut anything in me personally, I'm not looking to cut the EMS budget because the town spoke very loud and very clear last year that they wanted our in-house. You're struggling with firefighters during the day because of what Sam has brought up. Our downtown revitalization committee has brought up. There's no workforce housing. All the young adults that you used to have on the fire department, they can't work around here because they can't live around here.
We have them as long as they live at home.
Right.
Then when they move out.
We have the same struggle. We have people driving 2.5 hours to get to work every day because they can't afford to live here. So this is public safety, no matter how you look at it. The extra 4, yes, it's a financial burden, but it's gonna guarantee we get a fire truck rolling.
Right.
Which quicker, which is critical. And I don't wanna be on the other side of that boat where we can't roll the truck because we were looking to save this money in year 2 that we already had projected. Everybody knew the expense, so I'm good with 12 myself personally, because again, I was here. I know it's a strong pill, but I think it's what we need to do for the community to guarantee we have a strong EMS fire department going forward. That's just my 2 cents.
Chief, thank you for trying to get creative with this and exploring options and considering scenarios. That's exactly, at least what I was looking for, was just kind of like really pressure test this, but I didn't want to hear from you any proposal that was not going to work and was not going to run the operation in the way you need it to. I think that the council, I think those of us that were here on the council last year, I think understood, we made the case to the public that this was a 2-year project. I think everyone here that was here last year understood that. I do think though, the council, we have to recognize that as much as we made the point last year, people may have forgotten and have forgotten that this was a 2-year thing. And even though it's very fresh in our minds and it's something we're thinking about all the time, we have to remember that the public is not thinking in the same way that we are. So I do think that there is a responsibility on this council again this year to just like make the case again, make sure people understand why this is so important, all of the work that went into it, all of the efforts to save money and cut costs and get creative. And I just think it's the onus is on us again to make that case. But I really appreciate your effort on just trying to see what maybe could work. And I understand that.
Sure.
We need to roll 12.
So with the scenarios that you kind of prepared, pretty much what you're coming down to is there's no functionality without 12 full time.
I wouldn't say no functionality. I'd say you'd have a reduced functionality.
Okay.
So you would have it's a probability thing, right? If we can get 168 hours a week of part-time work filled, 24/7. So that's really what we're up against. And with the hybrid model of the 10, you're even a little more constrained because now you have 2 of the shifts have 3 people on them, and now you really only have 2 of the other shifts that you're trying to plug part-time people in, so that it shrinks that pool even more. So, and there's been some talk, wide area amongst the chiefs, at least in this part of the county, about the potential to share personnel, enter agreements, so that we're not paying a ton of overtime. Because at the end of the day, especially with per diems, we're just robbing people from our neighboring departments. And that's not sustainable. So, and I think that's something that is gaining some traction, but it's in the very early stages. not something that would be ready for this year, probably not even next year, so. You know, we're working towards that, we're just not there today.
And just to further clarify, the 12 that we are looking for is to maintain 2 people for each ambulance.
There'd be three personnel, 3 firefighter EMTs on duty 24 hours a day.
And everyone will be cross-trained to do every single function.
So you can share back and forth, you can staff the ambulance and one person takes fire truck, or it really depends what the call is.
So then your total staff would go to 14?
It'd be 12.
So 12. So
There'd be
you're
4
asking-
shifts
yeah.
with 3 people.
So you're asking 12 from the taxpayers, and there's you, and then there's your deputy. What will be the total employment?
Well, if you count me, it's 13 full-time.
Okay, so the 12 is already counting, I can't remember can't remember her name.
No, Katie's part-time, she's part-time, yeah.
So this is not including Kate.
No, she's in the part-time budget.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I want us to put forward the best budget that we think that will make it through. And I know that we've had conversations about sharing and everything, but the thing that I find difficult looking at our previous budget is we have these 8 people that you are working to hire and train, and they are paid for up until June 30th. And then that's what our current budget is. And then so the next budget that we're looking to pass, taxpayers will increase from that 8 for 2 or 3 months to the 12 full-time people for benefits. Which is gonna be a hard pill to swallow. And
Well, yes and no, because in this current budget, the funds were similar, but they were directed more towards procuring the equipment and getting the stuff we need, doing the work in the station and whatnot, so it's.
so are you referring to the 8 people for 3 months, or to make the?
Correct, so the reason we went the 2 months of 8 people is because our startup cost, our hard cost for equipment was so high.
Mhm.
That we wanted to, push it out as far as we could.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd have had $1 million in startup plus all the full-time people, so. This way, we figured it would be easier we could get the first group up and running and ready to take over on July 1, and then fold the rest in.
So understanding the way that our budget works, every department gets voted on, correct? It's a line item? Or it's all or nothing?
They get grouped into warrants.
Okay, so EMS fire will be their own warrant article.
Correct.
No, I think EMS fire is lumped in with police and other public safety, no?
Nope.
No,
It's
okay,
just-
like,
It used to be fire, ambulance, and hydrants for the.
Yes.
Okay.
EMS is.
Okay. So as it stands, if this warrant article gets voted down, is it already in our bylaws that it automatically goes to our previous budget, or does it just immediately fail?
Well, somebody can, at town meeting,
Yes.
at town meeting, somebody can vote to reduce the amount of the budget.
Mhm.
At which point then Tim and the chief need to figure out, if it's a 1.2 million budget, they say we want to cut this back by 200. Then they need to figure out where that 200 is coming.
So
Number 11.
it's an open floor town meeting,
No, yeah,
so the total balance, like I said, the fire can be reduced, but it can't be increased. So you'd either vote on, so you could vote on whatever you propose. Or accept an amendment, or an amendment from the floor to get passed, to reduce the budget. So one of those 2 things, and I suppose one of those could be a motion to vote nothing on the budget, but then you'd have to fund something.
but I think one of those questions was, let's say any particular warrant does not pass at the town meeting, it doesn't get reduced, it's just the no's are more than the yes. Does that force us to revert back to the same amount from, I know this is how it works for the school budget, so I just want to confirm.
that's why,
Does it force us to revert back to last year's number?
No, it doesn't do anything because we don't have a secret ballot vote. So all it means is that before July 1st, you'll have to come back, do another workshop. And get another number and go to a special town meeting and propose that then.
So just for history, the last 18 years that I've been attending town meetings, I've never seen a warrant article fail.
Mhm.
I've seen a question warrant articles, the last big one was when we bought the 4 town trucks in one shot. But they ultimately did it after the presentation hearing why. There were some questions on the EMS budget last year, they were answered and it went through, so I've never seen one get voted down. In the time I have been here and the meetings I came to in years before, doesn't mean there can't be, but I've never seen that happen at the town level.
So 8 people current in the current budget. How did you intend to operate from now until June?
Well, it's only 2 months and York Ambulance is still here.
Yeah.
They're here till the end of June, so.
And, you know, I hate to just not consider all of the historical information of the fire and EMS service and not just the downfalls. And because if you, in my opinion, if you just consider, oh, well, there was, you know, the service was bad, there was sometimes no one there, sort of negates the large percentage of the time that people were there. And the ambulances went out and they went to calls and the fire trucks went out and they went to calls and things were good. So I get it, like we're on this,
So
we're
are
on
you,
this
are you
path, you know.
insinuating that you're willing to wait to roll the dice?
I'm gonna propose.
Not have somebody at home?
I don't want to,
May I?
yeah, no, go ahead, cause I wanna.
It's just that. As I've mentioned before, and I mean, the reason we went through this exercise is like, why not just, you know, roll it out a little slower? I mean, this is not, in my opinion, this is not a huge dice to roll, so to speak, because we have, like you said, a pool of 38 part-timers, albeit you said, you know, maybe not always available when we want them to be, but 2 people there plus during, I guess, may I ask you, when do most of the calls come? Are they during the normal day shift?
So it's mostly during the day is the,
When we're,
traditionally.
so you'll be there during normal operating hours, available to respond as well as that, if that's how it works. You will own the calls, right?
I go call,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that would, you know, I'm just, I get it, eventually we're gonna wanna, like, get to this 3 on all the time, plus the chief and part-time EMA director for, part of that time, but there had to have been some consideration about not going from 8 to 12, or is that just like this, the kind of conversation we're having now never happened. This must have happened in the last year about staging this up and laying out the costs over more than 2 years, because I bite my tongue when I hear it's a 2-year project, because it's not. It's a forever project. Like, it's buy equipment year 1, staff up, and that's your cost. Plus now capital outlay to maintain service. So just, I think it's a little disingenuous to say it's a 2-year project. That aside, I don't know, I'm still of the opinion that there's a better way to do this than going 8 to 12.
So it is a 2-year project. It was a 2-year project to get us up and running, to get us out of the contract with York Ambulance. It was a complete 2-year project to get us to the point we had our own EMS. Yes, continuing costs from there with our own EMS is definitely continuing costs for the town, which I'm hoping everybody understood last year when they voted that this was going to be a cost forever, as long as we have a fire department and a police department. We're not paying York Ambulance $400,000 a year for their contract. So you can knock that off whatever we're paying our salary for our people that are here. In reply back to waiting a little longer, if you never called an ambulance for your kid, I'll tell you right damn now, I want an ambulance there and I want it there now. I've had to do it. I don't want to wait. I don't ever want anybody in this town to have to wait. When we voted on police a couple of years ago, we only had one on midnight shifts. Counselor's comment was, well, we can wait for Rollinsford. Again, if you need a police officer at midnight, I don't want to be waiting for Rollinsford. I am not, as a counselor, going to be up here telling someone, you can wait, because I don't want to spend this money. So that's why, and again, I've been on the other side of that. We've had other people speak to that. I'll cut anything else you want to cut on this bottom. But
Well, I think the other piece,
I'm not going down that
the
road.
other piece of the puzzle is. Part of the reason it was described as a 2-year thing is this upcoming year. You don't really have a full year of the ambulance billing coming in, so it's kind of prorated, you know, I'm figuring next year, so next budget. It'd be more like probably 370,000, maybe almost 400, depending how busy it is. Again, not gonna pay the whole bill, but is a consideration between that and offsetting what we were paying for a contract ambulance. That's
Which is
almost
going up
$800,000.
again.
Do we know, how much was the York ambulance contract gonna be this year? It was gonna be a new contract?
No, this year was 325, I think.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was just 310 last year. And so the budget will show, I think it was 294, but that's net of the building at that station.
But that's prior to the state didn't do the 6%, so.
It didn't.
Right, it didn't pass, thankfully. For everybody else.
So the way this usually, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, you finish.
I mean, the way this works in a lot of towns is they wait until, to Sam's point, they wait until people stop coming out, and then it's an emergency and they have to go hire people. I'm saying, I could see this coming, I could see this happening, the cracks are forming. You know, let's nip this in the bud so we never reach that point where.
Yeah, I think, I don't get me wrong, I appreciate that, and I know you have long-term vision, like long-term planning in mind. And we are improving service over what was existing. And so I guess it is, and obviously I want an ambulance there, I need an ambulance as well. I hesitate to govern by fear. And, you know, that's how I feel part of this is coming off. I'm trying to be as, you know, straightforward and financially driven in comparing that to service. And yeah, if you're saying that that's not possible, I understand that's your statement. I'm just still going to try to find a way.
Understand?
So.
It's a big expense, there's no way around it.
Yeah, just a reminder for the council. We are not the final vote on this, right? And I understand where you're coming from, Sam, and I do fully, and I know you want an ambulance for everybody in town. I wasn't trying to make you out to be the Grand Shah Heartless. I understand that. But we are not the final say on this. If we say we're gonna go with 12, it goes to the town for the town to vote. And like I've said, in many things we've done, some of these decisions I'm not willing to make. I'm not willing to make a cut on emergency services. If we take this to the town meeting in May, and they say, no way that we want to spend $1.2 million, you guys need to make this less, then we make it less. But I think we owe it to them to give them the full package that our chief has recommended and let them make the decision, because ultimately, along with us, because we pay taxes too, they're the ones that are gonna be paying for it. And that's how I look at a lot of this budget is they get to make the final decision. We can make some hard cuts if we need to get to where we need to get. But they should be able to decide what they get for services and coverage. And that's why we have the town meeting.
This is a topic where I am not willing to take the risk. I think this is a topic where lives are potentially at stake and there's potentially huge liability for the town. I think it would be really irresponsible of us to not ensure that we have an appropriately staffed ambulance service. I understand the frustration from my fellow counselors. This is a position that none of us enjoy being in. But being in this role, being elected officials, joining this council, the way I think about it is like the town of South Berwick is this car that is constantly moving forward and it never, ever, ever, ever stops moving. And we are passengers that are just joining the car periodically, and then we end our term and we leave. And I feel like it's the responsibility of counselors to sometimes get on board with decisions from previous administrations because you've joined a government body. And I will say there's been a number of decisions and issues that I've had to deal with that previous town council's decisions have been made, and it's our responsibility to face those decisions and deal with them. I think this is one of those examples, and I think it's a very difficult pill to swallow, absolutely, but I think this is a very essential thing that this town needs. I think we have done our due diligence to be as proactive as possible. As Chief said, we could have waited until this was a huge problem and that we had no one to come and when you called 911. And I really, really commend the chief for bringing this to our attention and getting us on top of this early so that we could have a sufficiently staffed ambulance service. And so I think, again, I'll just say it again, I think the responsibility is on us to make the case and to explain to the taxpayers that this is our best suggestion for how to solve a problem that we foresee coming our way.
Do you, Paul, or?
And then I'm done.
I've said that twice. I am really done about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the glory of town meeting is that the taxpayers will make the decision. So, and I'm okay with that. I think whenever I was never sitting here, but everybody was like, well, the word on the street is, I'm like, yeah, what street, what word? But I think, from what I've heard and just talking to various people, I don't think they fully considered the cost this year. And you guys may have done, and I was there last year, I voted for it. God knows, I wasn't saying, oh, we're gonna spend 1.2 million next year. I did not think about that, and I don't think a lot of other people did. In saying that, I've also talked to people who were very concerned about their taxes who have said, I think that we need to do this. So I'm with Sam. I wish there was another way. I really fully hope that over the upcoming years, and maybe we can make the case to the taxpayers that we are actively investigating other ways to try to cut down these costs. And I will be here for 2 years at least, I hope, trying to do that.
How about for you?
I didn't say I was gonna be successful, but yeah.
I might be misinterpreting my role here as a member of town council, but, John, thank you, for bringing it up again. We can hear all this and we make the best suggestion of a budget that we think is gonna be successful. One that's going to pass, but also for the success of the town. I don't think that it's wrong for us to try to analyze what has already been done in the past and try to move it forward. Every single person here would be like, I want to give you 20. I want to give you as many staff as you feel like you need to keep our town safe. Like that goes without saying for anybody. But it also we just raised property taxes on people. We have our budget, the school budget, we're paying more for Elliott. It's just going to be a practical thing that people want to hear that we've done everything. And I think these conversations can show that. A question for you, Chief.
Sure.
What will the scheduling be like for them? Is it 48 on, 96 off? Like what's the?
So they work 24-hour shifts. So it's 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 5 days off. That's a typical kind of industry standard.
Would you be open to an idea of shifting to 48-96?
You will have hiring issues.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's really popular down south that nobody around here ever been. I don't think anyone's doing that here.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you can do it with 3 shifts instead of 4 is really
But that requires more people.
correct. Yeah, it ends up being you won't be a heavy recruitment issue. Because everybody in this area is 24s. 4 shifts, 24.
Okay.
And to put it in perspective, I counted this afternoon, there's 45 departments in Maine and New Hampshire hiring right now, 45. That's what we're up against. So I looked long and hard at going with a three platoon system, and it just, the places that have it, they're revolving door, they're hiring, they basically just have the post up 24/7. So,
I just have one following thing, Mallory. Do we have a backup for if we pass 12 full time for what to do in the meantime to ensure it's up and running? Do we have like a backup tentative?
well, so York's still here, York's here till June 30th, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
But after that, because I know we just heard from the police budget last time.
Mhm.
He's had multiple part-time positions that haven't been filled because no one's been interested. Is there a backup for this intentionally? Not, you might not need it, but I'm just wondering.
Right, yeah, so right now we have, well, we had 18, we have 16 candidates still in the process for the original 8. My goal would be, because it's only a 2-month, window, would be to just, hire off the list.
Okay, perfect.
I just wanted to ask again, we are expecting some interest from some neighboring towns to potentially want to utilize us for their ambulance service. Is that still, and of course, it's nothing we can guarantee, there's nothing we can lock in, but it's part of the story.
Yeah, I haven't had any discussions about that. I know at Tim's level they have, but certainly that would play to Paul's point about kind of sharing services.
Yeah.
One last question for me related to the reserves, or related to the radios.
Yes.
So 34,000, that's for 4 radios, and then, I think I remember you at the last one saying, or isn't, do you buy those, what's the lifespan of those? And like forecasting out, future.
So
Years.
10 to 12 years generally, right now we're running them, and we have some that are 20 for 25 years, so. Most of those are gone, but
Okay.
try to get them.
So it looks like this year you got 4.
This year we got, yeah, so there was 4, and then there was some baked into the EMS project, because the ambulances need them, so. So I
So,
think we had 10 total.
okay, so then 4 in the budget for this year will bring you to 14.
Yeah, we have,
And then the next procurement would be, okay, so, sorry, how many were about 8 last year, 10 last year?
yeah, but there's an ad there because of the additional equipment, so. We
So
bought
then-
4.
So then the next radio expenditure wouldn't be for 9 years, 9 years, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't. Yeah, okay,
we have 40 total, so we just, try to do 4 a year.
4 year. So every year is 34,000, it's not like this. Okay, you just got 12 and now with 10 years from now, it's gonna be,
Right, those 12 are good for 10 years, but then the next tranche for them is up, so.
alright, thanks.
Any other questions from chief? Hearing none, thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving from there, we might as well go through the police one, because that one actually is going to. Joel, thank you for bringing that up. It was a good out of the box thought. But I do believe when we see what it brings up, we might not go out of the box.
So, Mr. Manager, members of the council, I requested the next start of the project would be the next piece of the budget. Jen has put together all the questions and answers that the, title votes for the budget meeting 3/17/26. These are all the information you requested last meeting. I think this will answer some of the questions that have come out, so I'd recommend maybe Jen go through that next.
Okay, beautiful.
So in the summary sheet that you do have, I did take out the HR director wages and benefits and added the 25,000 for the HR consultant, to be 30,000. So in the summary sheet for the administration, you are seeing that new number. I added in the number of employees for each benefit line. You have that in your new packet tonight so that you can review that. I also added a column in the CIP for the debt obligations. That's in the purple column. And I did add in the notes the amount of tip dollars that go with the percentages of payroll as requested.
Sorry, which one are we looking at?
She's on.
Yeah, can you just like hand hold us through and make sure we're get finding the specific things in the
This
worksheet?
sheet,
Yep,
Oh, okay,
but in the,
these are the questions you asked us to research last.
yeah,
So
And there's a
the-
packet with it, so that there is.
but it's not the full
the
packet.
packet is this,
And the
Yes.
two tables.
Okay. Okay,
One
so
one
on
of
the
the two
big
symbols has how many
sheet,
people's in.
Yes, on the big sheet,
you removed the HR director wages and benefits,
correct,
okay,
and that's on the administrative line. You'll see the wages out of the, for the HR director with the increase of the HR consultant up to 30,000 as we discussed last meeting.
So that was the 56,540 in. Am I looking at the right
Correct.
sheet? Okay.
Yes.
and that's the difference between the original proposed and this new proposed.
Yes, before it was 131,640 in your first packet.
So the savings, 131, 6, okay, so the savings related to that change are not shown. This is from year over year.
This is the net of the two changes that we made to that budget last meeting on Thursday. By deleting the HR director for $100,100. And adding 25,000 to consulting for HR. For a net change.
Of $75,100. Okay,
That was the first change that we talked about last Thursday, or one of the first things.
okay, and that was one that we all stacked hands on and said we were for sure gonna move forward with that.
Correct, so I made those changes, hard numbers into the current budget.
Everyone following this?
Mhm.
Please ask me questions if I'm going too fast. One of the other questions was on the benefit. Employee benefits spreadsheet, which you did get a new copy. Joel had asked if we added a column so that we could tell how many staff that affected. And I did that on the far right next to the comments, so that we can see how many staff members are affected by each one of those lines. Also in here was reduced the amount of the benefits for the HR director that we deleted.
can we go through that net change for that too? So I'm looking, the original proposed being 2530850.
Correct.
And the new proposed 2480350.
Correct.
Okay.
The next change is on the CIP and reserves account, which I gave you a new clean sheet on that. I had been asked to add in the obligations that were in the CIP accounts. There was 3 for fire. Fire, highway and police. That's in the purple column, so you'll see the request in blue. And then the amount of obligations that have already been approved that we must pay. The difference is wiggle room and other equipment needed. I did not give you a copy of this on each one, but we were asked to add in to clarify the percentage amount for people's payroll that were covered by TIF. If you wanted, mine as an example is 30%, so I added the dollar amount, which is the 30%, so that everyone can clearly see what people's wages are. And that's throughout spreadsheets. Everyone will get a clean copy of everything. This was just a note. I can get you another copy of it, if you would prefer to see it.
So the tip dollar request, that's in your details, we don't have it here.
Correct,
Okay,
it's just
that's fine.
updated notes to give further information, to give the dollar amount that is equal to the percent amount covered by TIF for payroll salaries.
How does that same exercise affect the obligations? So for example, say right now I wanted to fund the reserve account to their bare minimum. That's 379, 670. And some of that would be paid for through TIP, correct?
Yes, and those three amounts in red that you're seeing there.
So, okay. So for example, fire department. Current obligations, $192,897. 15% of that will be funded through by the TIP. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I did not.
Yeah, I'm trying,
I-
I don't think we have to do that, but I'm just trying to figure out what that minimum is.
After the tip amount is
Yeah.
paid.
I can write, I'll already write them out, so.
Yes, that could have been an additional layer of information I could have added. I didn't. The next question was to ask Dan Boyle about the historic commission budget and if it was sufficient and if there was any changes. He responded back that there was nothing else needed at this time. I spoke with the police chief yesterday morning and he reported to me that they really do need another vehicle. He's two bottom of the fleet are older Fords and they are in the shop often. And they are running up the vehicle maintenance line in his current budget. He is actually almost out of money in those this year.
Do you know if he tracks maintenance per vehicle, like, I think Nick Hamill had mentioned he does?
We have started it with fire, we have started it with highway. I don't know if for sure offhand if the police are doing it on their own. We are not doing it in the finance office at this time.
And we have currently 2.5, or we want 2.4 officers per shift, right?
That I believe is what
The goal,
the asking for, yes.
and we have 6 patrol cars.
I don't know that number off the top of my head. What was that?
So, 5, sorry. 5 patrol lines, 2021, 2025, 2 2023, and 2 2020s.
Did you get the total in there too?
Yep.
Yeah, that's 2025.
Oh, okay, he would have been there. Perfect.
So sort of couple backups.
Replacements. I also gave you a handout on road striping from MDOT. There isn't a law, there's more guideline. And that was in your packet as well. And that looks like this with the one highlighted line above it from the top. It is recommended that it's done every year. Then this goes on to tell you how MDOT handles it. If there is annual average daily traffic of 600 vehicles per day on the roadway, they do recommend a minimum of center line. And it is for safety, especially, you know, when you can't see the edge of the road. But that is more informational for you to make the decision on striping.
I think Cambridge's closing in on that.
What's that?
I think Belmont's is closing in on 600 a day.
Jen, just to clarify with striping, it's different than,
Yes.
it's different than the maintenance for plowing, because we don't get a reimbursement, correct? From the state,
The state does give us about $113,000 to help take care of our local roads.
and we can choose to do with how we see fit.
We must use it for the roads, but yes,
Okay,
within a certain parameter, yes.
thank you.
I'd be interested, thank you for the main dot information. I'd be interested to see if there's anything from, what is it, MUTCD, the
Local roads, no.
Any guidance from, I forget what the acronym stands for, it's like. It's like uniform traffic control, something or other, right? That I think. Is baked into like. DOT
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
I'd be interested to see what they advise on local roads.
Right.
Yeah, versus state and state aid roads. But that's just a statement of.
Yeah, I don't know if the main local, I know Jay uses the local road center to do his pavement management. I don't know if they would have anything on. Tracking, but
Jay did get this information from me direct from his contact at the state. And we were also asked, about the communication specialist and how our invoices have been posted. I gave you a copy of our vendor detail report, everything that is paid in date in this fiscal year. The ones that are highlighted in yellow were charged to TIF. Balance was charged to planning. I gave a copy on the second page of the planning department, so you can see them all being listed. I did create the summary sheet, as you saw here. The yellow box is what I created that's new. So in the furthest column, we can play with these numbers. I can put it on the screen. We can take them, change them, manipulate them, so that you can see how it will affect the bottom lines. And as one more side note, Tim already talked about this handout, which tells you the mill rates for since I started. If you wanted to know, like 2018 was the date I started with, that was when I started. And then I just gave you some information about foreclosures. Over the past 6 years, since December of 2020, we have had 8 foreclosures. 5 of them are redeemed. That left us with foreclosures on 3 lots that were land only for a total of about 9 acres. So we have not taken anyone's homes.
And those are just foreclosures related to property tax payments. There's still kind of the other scenario that it's not within this body's control of people not being able to pay their mortgage payment. And any potential bank notice associated with that.
Correct. We do not
Completely separate.
completely separate. Correct. Correct.
This is town foreclosures.
Yeah. Right.
I appreciate that clarity, thank you.
Okay, so.
I've had second thoughts about our town council budget.
So,
No,
We need to
just-
kind of keep it short.
So-
I'm sorry, I don't want to go back,
so-
but
so we-
I'm ready to give up my $500.
so in the big picture, in the big picture, and I told this to Joel earlier, right? Look at the amount of money we have to take from undesignated in order to drop a little bit on the percentage on it, right? And in order to drop a full percentage on mill rate, rough guess is $1 million we'd have to cut from the budget if our mill rate was 13. If our mill rate was 13,000 today, and we wanted to make it 12, we would have to cut $1 million out of our budget, which is not physically possible. So I've always thrown it out there to get rid of our salary, right? To get rid of, I don't even know how much it is. What's it, 4 or 5 grand?
No, it's like 3,000
So-
combined for all of them.
$3,000 would buy Jen gas, but in the big picture of this budget, like Mallory said, it's symbolic. We can turn it in like Sam did and they can do something with it, but it's not gonna
You know
make
what, I
a
know.
difference to the taxpayers, unfortunately.
And I also
That's
just,
symbolic, but anyway.
That's so, by a percentage.
I am happy to cut it, but I also want us to think about, like, are we setting a precedent for future councils and to say that, you know, are we ever gonna get any additional people to run for council knowing that, you know, this is a lot of work and there's no compensation for it, you know, we may all be happy with that, but I do worry a little bit about a precedent.
Why did they run?
I'm just gonna say, if someone runs for this job for the money they get for being for the $500, God bless you.
Can I provide a clarifying comment on the consultant hotline? So
Yeah.
the 2 sheets, so the vendor report on the front, those are the total of the payments, and then the expense detail report is to back that up. So the total payments to the vendor are 13,387.50.
That is correct. And I just gave you the detail on the second page for the planning portion, because that was what you had asked.
Okay, right, because she had a one line item that was under admin, I think, right?
Her new, right now she's in consulting in planning. In the new budget, we put her in admin where she really belongs.
So both of her this current fiscal year. Under planning. Under contracted services. There's the 8,937, and then you're saying the rest was. Under where? Trying to follow.
TIF.
TIF, okay,
3 in yellow are TIF. And we're charged to TIF accordingly. She did extra work to help Carlo out, get the word out about certain different items.
okay, and then, okay, 8973. Okay,
She's still gonna be charging part of her time to tip.
She will be split between planning and TIF throughout the rest of this fiscal year.
All right,
and this is 75% TIF next year.
75.
Yeah.
all right, before,
All right.
oops, sorry.
Oh, no, that's DeCarlo position. My bad.
I think it was 50%, but let me look at it.
50%, okay. Communication specialist, 50% TIF funded.
Okay, yeah.
All right, before Jen gets into the options we have. Budget's been fully presented to us. Our plan tonight was to come up with a consensus going forward for the 27th on the budget we're gonna present. So that will be the options that Jen gives us on the direction we go. Does anybody have any questions before we get there?
We need to walk away this evening with a final budget.
Instead of 27th or the 24th.
24th, okay.
A week from today.
I just to make sure we weren't sneaking another meeting.
Still 107 feet right there.
Okay.
I need to be able to put all these numbers into the warrant articles so that I could put that in the supporting documents for Thursday for the clerk to post Friday morning so that we can vote on the warrant articles next Tuesday.
So,
What are we doing about the transfer station?
We're gonna talk about the option.
Yeah, I think
That-
we would
that's-
suggest.
yeah,
we should
okay.
yeah,
start
that's what, so if we're good with the way the budget was presented, not going backwards, now we're gonna go to the options, which is where that comes in, and then when we're done with that, we'll talk about what we wanna present for next year's budget with different layouts and whatnot. If anybody wants to do that tonight, or hold on. But if we're good, Jen, floor is yours, ma'am, with the options.
Okay, so what I did is I did put in the sheet that you have in front of you. All of the options that were talked about, which actually really wasn't as many as I had first thought. So it's the police station and doing different options. We can concentrate on that first. We had talked about adding in one full-time officer. I'm gonna try to make this. Adding one full-time officer. Not financing a Tahoe. Taking away 3 part-time officers, which would incur us some extra overtime. So those pieces, I'll just go through all of it. And then if we were to deduct 40,000 from the transfer station, with all those changes going through is an additional cost to the taxpayers of $66,040. On your sheet, that is the example on the scenario you're seeing now. And you can see in the yellow box versus the gray box down below, the difference in percentages and the increase of the budget by doing those scenarios.
Mr. Chair, so is now the time we like get into each group? Cause we're at the police department right now, correct?
Yeah, I say we have to do this, things for our finance like that.
Yeah, and I can take things away, I can add things, and we can see how they affect the bottom line.
Can I ask one question about the benefits again?
Yes,
The bottom line, the 66,000. I didn't see a number in column H for the benefits. to mark that reduction. Such that 66 would be affected, I think.
Are you talking about
Or-
when we decrease the HR director?
Oh, okay, maybe that 66 is the horizontal formula, never mind, because I was looking at the 5,000, the -25, or -25, 151.
Oh, yeah, it's the same.
Okay, so I was expecting to see something in that employee benefits line on that column. But I think your formula is going horizontal versus vertical in that. So I think I answered my own question.
I think that the
Does that make
66
sense?
It does to me,
The
big
66
loopholes all the way across.
The
But say it,
66,000 at the bottom is, and I'm gonna say this and correct me if I'm wrong, is that basically the scenario that we proposed of taking away three part-time officers and the associated impacts of that and all of that really resulted in a $66,000 increase over our budget.
Yes.
Versus, and so it was basically like our attempts to save money there didn't
Right.
work.
Yes.
But should-
But I do have a follow-up question on this, so we had asked to take away 3 part-time officers. And the kind of impetus to that was because the chief made it very clear that part-time, like the whole part-time police officer training is going away, so our, but that we have open part-time positions that haven't been filled, so taking away those 3 part-time officers, is that scenario just taking away hours that are not filled with a body? Because we don't have people on staff, or is that actually taking away hours from real people?
So there's 5 positions, 3 are filled, 2 are not.
Okay, there's 5 part-time positions.
I thought 2 were filled with 3.
We just hired someone new.
Okay.
And in a week, in 5 days? We hired someone new? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, the chief just announced it last week. We have a new part-time person.
Okay,
But I
In-
think that was.
in my notes, yeah, the chief said last week that there were 3 open part-time positions, so we only know 2.
Right.
Unless one of the other 2 gentlemen are no longer serving that I'm not aware.
No worries, so then looking at, Mallory, I'm sorry, did I just take over your time? Sorry.
I just wanted to help understand like how, if that's the case of taking away 3 part-time officer positions was taking away those hours because we know they're not filled. I'm not understanding like how that creates increased overtime if the part-time positions aren't filled.
Yes,
Because now an officer that's already worked 40 hours will need to fill those vacation hours.
But isn't that the case anyways, because the positions aren't filled?
Yes, but he's trying to give you a scenario of if you take away the position, he's giving you a scenario of if he was fully staffed with 5 officers,
Okay,
with 5 part-time officers. If you take them away, he's giving you the scenario of that will add 5,000 in overtime,
Okay,
even
but
though
we have
he
to
doesn't
pretend
have
that
it.
every position is filled.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay,
so then, back to that point, for the 2
Mike.
that were, so is the 24,960 per part-time, or is that total that we're paying 3 part-time people?
Total that we're paying 3 part-time people.
Is $24,960.
We don't have a lot of hours for them. They're just a part-time, so they're scheduled for like 4 to 5 hours a week, so you average that out, hopefully they'll cover a few vacations throughout the year. There are not a lot of hours.
So the whole,
positions budgeted,
okay, so the whole point of that is to be a vacation sponge.
pretty much, yes.
Okay. So then again, to the point, sounds like this would be better money spent to give our officers the ability for overtime.
As long as you don't get burnt out, yeah.
They have it anyway.
Yeah, but this, I mean, one of those positions are just sitting there empty. I kind of understand why no one's interested in them, but then. Again, I wish I would have asked how long they've been unfilled, because then we could like have looked at the past year and how that would have impacted.
What if you look at the year-to-date costs for part-time wages? It's $45,855 at 60% through the year. If you forecast that out at its current rate, that's $76,425 for the whole year at the current rate that we're using part-time. And the department's request is $138,881.
So that also includes the animal control officer, That includes the custodian and it includes a 30-hour-a-week admin.
And those are current employees.
Correct. Yeah, and have been for quite some time.
So forecasting out that 45 over the remainder of the year would yield a total cost of $76,000. But the request is 138, so it would appear as though they're increasing part-time wages by a fair amount of money, $50,000+. But and to Joel's point, if you add a full-time, how would that number not only decrease below its current rate, but also its current rate is less than $100,000, but the request is for 138 and change. And I understand it's an estimate, but like, I feel like this is one line item that historical data would be a good one to use.
So, Sam, to your point, because that's a very good point, so right now with with estimating how much we're paying for the 8 part-time people. We can put, there's 50,000 in there, that's kind of like 50 to 60,000 that's being asked for, and that's not being utilized pretty much.
It appears to be above and beyond what will be required for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Jen, is it possible to look up last year or the year before how much was left over in the police budget?
Yes, I can look that up. We know that right here.
Last year's actual on
Yeah.
4/25 was $1,546,513.
Right from.
It'll tell you the actual, but it won't tell you the difference between the budget and the actual, and that's what you had asked, right?
Yes.
So I guess I'm just thinking out loud, because I'm following what you guys are saying, that it kind of seems like the department has asked for more part-time hours than we have funds for. However, I think the approach that the chief and the staff likely took on this is like where we're trying to staff ourselves at. And like, and he's, you know, he's got these open part-time positions, and so I just think that's just a dynamic here of like the number being requested is assuming like those positions are filled and going to be fully utilized.
Correct.
How many are unfilled? I'm confused about how many part-time, but not the
I'm
custodial.
gonna go with 2. Like,
Two.
So
consider.
there's two positions that are unfilled, but they haven't budgeted for
Correct, because the hope is.
over the course of the year,
Correct.
but they haven't been filled all year.
Yes, and they're only about 8,000 a year, theoretically, but then. Do you have that number? It's, okay,
I'm gonna need to run last year's final numbers.
no worries, you're fine.
And undo.
Keep going. So while that's being pulled up, just looking at it, based on we have 2.4 officers per shift. And we have 10 full-time currently that are active officers.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, so. Where's everyone in that? So that's about 70 hours that we need to fill a week. What am I doing that out here? One moment. Look at that.
See,
You're
I
looking,
have to get out of this soon.
so you're looking for the fiscal year 2025, is that what you're looking for?
If you have the
The
budget
budget,
up, we have the other numbers.
I'm looking at this budget FY 25, this is in the FY 26 packet. This is the budget expense report FY 26. And it shows. Police department, 1,606,190.
20,606,190.
Yeah,
Which year, Sam, was that?
FY 25.
So they gave back $59,677 last year. Unspent in their budget.
And then looking, okay, back to my math open. So with assuming 2.4 officers per shift. 70 hours a week to fill. We're looking at 33.6 hours a week per officer. That's available currently with 10 full-time staff members.
No,
No, you're fine, I'm just like,
that sounds right, but I don't look at their time sheets.
no, I know, I'm not looking at that, but like, so adding in potential for like coverage for vacation, everything.
So you're covered for court. You're covered for all the other appearances they do, because when they go to court, they're getting paid. While they're at court, they're not here on duty. So you're paying overtime to an officer while they're at court. So there's a lot of things that the officers do. That aren't figured in. 2.4 officers today aren't patrolling the roads, right? The school resource officer is at the school. So, but again, court.
Is that paid for by us or is that the school?
Us.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
No, go for it. I just, no, thank you for filling that gap, but I was just, to me, it was like, yeah, there seems to be coverage.
I just called,
Yes.
just called the police chief. He has 2 part-time positions filled. The other 3, because he budgeted this number for 2 reasons. Increased in payroll services for the part-time positions, they all need to go up, so that shows them going from 129, 424 this year, 138, 881. And he said he increased those salaries, he did. The 3 positions that are still open and the 2, in hopes that he didn't anticipate getting a full-time position. So he upped the part-time salaries in hope of drawing more people here to fill the part-time positions.
So he wasn't planning on the outside the box of get rid of these 3 and take 1.
So to clarify the point, you're just, man, I'm trying to talk about, so we have 3 open positions.
Correct.
And based on the budget that we're seeing here, how much did the chief budgeted? $138,881. Do we know how much that would be? With the 1 admin assistant, that's 30 hours a week. 2 part-time patrol officers, the 1 animal control officer, and the 1 custodial engineer for 10 hours a week.
No.
Is there a way that we can figure that out?
All right.
So the goal that I wanna see if we have all of that, what is our delta? Like if we know this is how much we're paying for all of the staff that we currently have, and we take out the 3 part-time people, what is that? Cause combine that with how much they theoretically had left over in the previous year, and what is the other ones? Is that enough for a full-time person?
No,
No,
not even close. You're gonna miss it by about 50 grand.
If I'm understanding correctly, I think the taking away the 3 part-time positions is $24,960, which is what is on the summary sheet. That's what that amount would be, which certainly isn't enough to then make a full-time position.
correct.
Correct, but last year they had $59,000 left over.
Yep.
And in my opinion, when doing budgets, the goal is that it's 0. If we look at that pass, we're able to get, looking at 59, round to 60 for numbers, 24, 960, 25, we're at 85,000. We're missing 20 and 25 to get the chief a full-time person.
It's
But I wonder what it.
151 for a full-time officer.
And the reason why he gave money back at the end of the year is because he couldn't fill one of the positions for the whole 12 months for that calendar year, or someone left.
We lost a police officer last year midway through. So he lost that full-time salary. I know what you're looking at doing. But we can't count the eggs.
We can't guarantee like that same
It's
position.
just like Jen
scenario.
doing revenue. She can't tell us we're gonna have $300,000 more revenue this year than last year. She can't do it. So we can't good faith tell the public we're gonna save $60,000 again next year to pay this.
Cause the
That's
$60,000, we think was largely like hours that if we had someone here would have been worked, dollars would have been spent.
Hours and benefits.
But because we didn't have the staff. So that we had roughly $60,000.
How much is the vehicle again, the Tahoe?
If we did it, if we financed it, we budgeted $25,000 for 5 years. fully equipped police car is about $100,000.
So again, 5 vehicles, 2.4 officers per shift.
But we're not
Officers take the
actually-
cars to court.
They have 3 other vehicles, that, at the non-marked vehicles, there are 3 other ones.
Cars at the school. You have to take downtime for cars being fixed. Right now, we have one at the body shop. I'm not sure where the other one is. So again, and you have 2 2020s, 2 23s, and a 25. We went down this road years back with our last chief. And we had a whole bunch of cars that were junk. It doesn't make fiscal sense for the town not to keep turning over the fleet. It just doesn't. If you look at longevity, it doesn't work with the amount of miles those cars get put on.
Let's talk about, okay,
So Jen, you took off 25K for the police cruiser, and that was just to finance it on a.
That is the
Delay-
amount.
delay it here.
Instead of previously, we were just gonna buy the whole thing all at once, or?
The way the CIP has worked in the past is we buy by lease, so that we're not always financing and paying that extra interest.
We buy in cash, we buy it outright and then we finance, buy by finance, not lease.
Well, when I say lease, I mean finance, we get a loan.
Yep.
That's what the bank calls it, so
Yes.
So the 25 Tahoe was a cash. Last
Correct.
year, yeah,
yes.
we paid cash for the Tahoe. So this year would be a finance.
how come, I saw in the justification, maybe this should have been a question for chief, why do we need Tahoe? I mean, I have a Grand Cherokee and it's because I have 2 kids. And, you know, as soon as they grow up, I'm getting a smaller car. Like, so what happened to, you know?
So I can-
Crown Vics. I'm sorry, but, it's a rhetorical question.
They
but I
don't
think
make
the Tahoe
Crown
is
Vics.
accepted.
They don't make Crown Victorias, they don't make full-size rear-wheel drive cars. The amount of tactical gear that they have to carry, they need the extra space. They need the space if they have to put somebody in the back. But I would suggest go visit with the chief and go look in one of those cars at what they carry. They need some room. They really do. With the, again, all the tactical gear they carry, the guns, the vests, everything they need to go to a scene. They need bigger vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled across this country and in some respects across the world, and like, it's just an anomaly, like, again, my personal opinion, but if we're crunching numbers here, you know, like, it just seems a little ridiculous to me, and I'm saying it out loud, obviously I am, but it seems a little runaway.
It's $100,000 no matter what you buy for a police car, whether it's a Tahoe or whatever you buy, honestly. In the big picture, Sam, it's still almost $100,000 because of the police package, the interceptor package, the suspension, the wheels, the motor, all the rest. That's why there's only certain dealerships, again, going back to your RFP going out to local dealerships, there's only certain dealerships that have police packages because there's only certain dealerships that want to tie up the money in inventory in the police vehicles. They have to special order them and they're different than why they're fun to drive if you have.
They're like a stripped model, and then, so it's about 50,000 for a Tahoe and 50,000 to equipment.
I will just say, like, echoing kind of what Jen and Donna said, we kind of very intentionally got into this groove with police cruisers, because there were so many challenges before where these cars are running all the time, are being driven all the time, and they take a lot of wear and tear, and, I think the kind of system that we've been in of like allocating money every year to kind of maintain this fleet has worked well for us. I think it could easily be a decision we could make this year, but I worry about, will the next council then make that same decision again? Are we then also then setting this precedent of we're just not gonna fund our police cars, because we can't sit here and say we're definitively gonna fund it again next year. I think it's a good system to stay on top of.
And I think, me personally, I think that if without the validation of, what each of these assets is costing, it's hard to make a financial decision that they are, quote, costing too much. We don't know those numbers. And those numbers should be readily available in some sort of full asset listing of the town with purchase price, depreciation to date, repair costs, salvage value, anticipated lifespan, everything that you'd expect to be in front of you to make a sound decision. And that's what I don't have here, to be able to say, we did a new car because the other ones are costing too much to repair, okay? Are they costing $25,000 a year to repair? Because that would be the trigger point, or at least some percentage of that.
We're 60% of the way through the year and the vehicle maintenance budget is already at 83%. And as they already stated, you know, our cars have been requiring maintenance. To me, I think that for me is sufficient at this point to decide to fund this vehicle. I hear you on all of the, I think it would be wise for us to start keeping track of vehicle maintenance, but, I think we have that information. We have the repair cost so far this year, and we're already trending well over budget.
And we don't know what assets those repairs have gone to, that's my point.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying I'm comfortable giving that metric that we're currently 60% of the way through the year and our repair budget has already been eaten up 83%. I feel comfortable funding an additional police vehicle for this year.
And I agree to your point, Sam. It would be nice to know what vehicle is what, which again, they're tracking for police, they're tracking for fire, they're tracking for town. So definitely a request we should make going into next year to have that available. Agreed. I mean, it's an easy metric to have. They're already doing it for two. That being said, I still think we should go with a new cruiser this year, but I think that information would be very helpful. Going forward, no issue for me on that one. When we jump into that at our next agenda meeting where we can make that vote.
Quick devil's advocate here, because I get what everyone's saying, and I could go either way. Do you think this year the chief would want a new vehicle or another full timers?
He told me a new vehicle.
There we go, thank you.
And a new vehicle is $125,000 less than a new full-time person.
No.
Better figure
It is this year.
Oh.
It's not over the course of 5 years. It is this year.
Off of the car, that Motorola software, again, probably should ask this, maybe one of you two know, is that intended to be implemented beginning this year? I noticed that the first payment is shown in this fiscal year.
Did I turn on the wrong one?
It's not, it's being purchased, and I think it'll take a year to put it in and implement it. It's a huge changeover, they gotta put it in, plug it in, do all the necessary information for each town, so forth, so it takes like a year to turn it over. And then they're gonna turn it on each different town, work out the bugs, so to speak, before they actually flip the switch, which I think is gonna take a year from now.
And so this is a partnership with another entity, or is it just a Southborough endeavor?
It's all of your county, correct?
No, it's through Sanford Dispatch, which is our 911 dispatch center. And it's a countywide undertaking. It's the dispatch module, police dispatch module for your county.
And we're locked into that, and the reason I'm bringing it up, because it's over the course of its life, it's $314,000.
Yeah.
So that software is something that we are locked into purchasing because of our agreement with Dispatch.
Yes, correct, for Sanford.
And that is in fiscal 27, which is the budget that we're talking about.
Correct, yeah, I just wanted to ask the questions about it, since the decision is $314,000 versus just the 28, Joan, you know what I mean?
So we looked at swapping dispatch to County York. And it's the same effect, as York has to buy the same software through Sanford. It's being installed in Sanford, then it'll be distributed. The end user piece gets put to every police department, so to speak. And
We get better reception with Sanford than we do York.
no, we would get better reception with York.
Did they change it? Because we didn't when we initially went with Sanford.
No, yeah, well,
Okay,
we could just, now with the new antenna in the water district.
Yeah.
We can see York from that antenna, so it would actually be cheaper. But York is not interested at this point of entertaining us.
all right, so I forgot about the new antenna. All right,
You know, thank you, Bill, for asking that question about the chief. I mean, we can nickel and dime this. I mean, I guess I'm just interested in what he thinks is best for his department
He needs a
this
job.
year, based on the budget, how we're sort of going through there.
Right.
So, and if he thinks it's best to have a new cruiser at the expense of two, you know, I'm fine with that.
So one of the reasons, this isn't all the reasons, but maybe it'll help Council Flintstrom with his thoughts, is that, we got two brand new Ford Explorers in 23. And both of them at around 8,000 miles have had transmissions replaced. And that'll continue to be an issue. The older ones we have already had those issues. The problem becomes is, as we know, they're under warranty for 3 years, 36,000 miles, and Ford stood up and replaced those transmissions. We took them over to Doobie's Ford, I think, over here, Dover, and but the problem's gonna be, we try to keep cruises so they run 3 years or to 100,000 miles, high mileage. And then after 100,000 miles, they like to turn them over to reserve cars, the backup cars. The dog officer gets one, and then there's usually two reserve cruises in case one breaks down, they get the other one. Or if it's a major incident, the other guys coming in to get the other two cars and go. So when the time came last year to look at vehicles, chief talked to all the other surrounding towns to see what they were buying. And Kittery is buying all Tahoes, and with the idea of, instead of a 3 to 5 year shelf life, it's a 5 to 7 year shelf life. That the vehicle will remain as primary for 5 years on patrol, and then go for 2 years as a reserve. So there's a little bit longer shelf life with the Tahoe. I don't know if that justifies additional monies, but that's how I remember the chief at the Tahoe level. And why it presented us with that, but the problem with the Ford Explorers hasn't been corrected as of yet, and the Tahoe provided, when you're talking to the other counter with Calvin, they're lasting longer because I think they're stronger built.
Don't call exploded for nothing. So circling back so we can get to a consensus point, so. We're gonna take away the full-time police officer, yes, consensus, I think we can't vote, but council consensus, take away the full-time police officer?
Yep.
Okay. Police cruiser, leave it in to get voted on, consensus,
I'm in favor of it.
Yep.
okay?
Yeah.
And again, this all is subject to whatever happens in May. I just wanna make sure we're giving Jen everything she needs. The only thing we have not talked about, correct me if I'm wrong, is the transfer station.
Part-time police officers?
Sorry, part-time police officers. Leave him in hopes he gets them?
Or we can take them out.
Do we need 5? I mean, we never
Five.
filled 5.
Right, we've never filled 5, if he had 5, it would make covering vacation cheaper for the town, because you wouldn't be paying a full-time officer time and a half. So that's the theory, but is it, for the $25,000 that it's in there, 24,900, is it hurting anything to leave it there? In the hopes that he gets another one, because again, we'd save time and a half on a police officer.
I also just want to add on that point, you know, the chief made a presentation to us last week that, and I think demonstrated to all of us that he is not staffed at the level that he should be staffed at, period. And so if we make a conscious choice to cut a position, any position, from what was originally presented this budget, we are in that situation again next year. We'll hear I will not be here. You all will hear the same story from the chief next year, needing more positions, and you'll be one less than you are now. So I think that that's something that we should also consider. I mean, we heard from the chief, he is not fully staffed, and then we're gonna make the choice to cut hours, cut positions.
No, I mean, the only reason I even introduced the idea of having the part-time was to get them full-time.
No,
And I was totally on board.
No, but it's not, like,
Yeah.
right to the point, like, they don't match up, so like, I don't wanna take it away, and if he doesn't use it.
okay,
Then he was.
so consensus, leave the 3 part-time there.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying about that, but also we're in this particular fiscal year where we're jacking up the fire department's resources, and historically, the part-time budget line item hasn't been used, so why not bring it into alignment where the actual use is, which is, I think, what a budget process would request. I understand, I
No,
understand.
no,
yeah.
no, no, got it.
So, I mean,
Well, what happens in that case if the chief has an opportunity to fill a position over this coming year?
Yeah.
Then he demonstrates those he needs, he doesn't have enough funds to do it then. If we do, if
Well-
positions became available.
I mean, it depends on the requirement for part-time police officers. I mean,
He's gotta have
Yeah.
the budget to pay for it, that's the only problem, right? He can't come to us halfway through the year and ask for one. He could, but he's gotta have the budget to it, so, again, so.
I mean, I would say. What the department requests, $138,881. Over the last. Between 2021 and 25, the average expense on that line item is $93,285. Based on 60% through the year. Assuming status quo, we can expect to expend $76,425 in that line item. If we reduce that item by $40,000, that brings the line to $98,881, which is more than any previous year and the expected expenditure for this year.
I suggest you just take consensus.
No, that's so good, again, Sam, so I understand where Sam is. I understand where Joel is, where Mallory is. Paul, consensus wise, look at cutting it, leave it at 3. Again, there's no vote, there's no action being taken, it's a consensus, so we can have Jen prepare the budget. When this article comes up. During the meeting, we are gonna go. If the council chooses, we will go warrant article by warrant article like we did last year, so when you come to a town meeting. The moderator in meetings past until last year has always read. Article number 1 is this, town council recommends adoption. Last year, we had 2 articles where it said town council. 4-1 recommends adoption, so that is an option for us when we do this. When we take the final vote. We can do that. Then if you don't agree with it, so again, just.
I hear, I know.
Right, she got what I'm saying, so. Where are you, just so we can give Jen a path forward?
Chair, can I ask one clarifying question?
Sure can.
So looking, because I feel like that's a really good point, Sam. Jen, with your historical knowledge, looking at 24-25, can you tell me why there was a $35,000 increase to part-time from 24-25 to 25-26? If either of you know off the top of your head, but I would.
I am not.
In part-time,
Yes. Because it jumps significantly. It is also okay if you don't.
I don't know without looking back, I mean, we have been trying to get people's raises up, but that wouldn't be 35,000. Unless he added a patrolman or 2 part-time, knowing that we have had trouble.
Was there a point where we did like some shuffling with custodial? Where, moving from one budget to another.
Oh, right here, I do have a line item but that was the year before. That the ACO got brought in to the police department where they had their own department before, but that might have been the year before.
No, so, I mean, and it's fine, no, but just to Sam's point.
Sorry, your original question was from 24-25 to 25-26. Okay, so keep in mind, that's actual compared to budget, and she just told us that we came in way under budget. The actuals are way under. So that's not, that you can't compare those two, because that's 94,520 is actual that we know was well under budget. Because we returned money back, so.
Yes, so then what, but then to that point, when there was more money returned and we can already see the expense already through this year. There's no reason it should be.
Well, in
At the
February,
time we decided on 129,424, though, we didn't know that the actual was coming in that much, because we were at this point in time, right? So all we had was like this year-to-date number, which, you know, it's a fair point that it has been consistently trending under, but that's information that this council did not have.
No, and that's fine, I'm just like looking at like, I didn't think to go back to look at the averages, and it's been well under 100,000.
So are you changing your view of 3? On consensus?
Yes.
Okay, so
So sorry, is the consensus now that we are cutting a part-time
no,
position?
no, right now, you and I are for leaving it at 3. Joel and Sam are for cutting it to something. I have not heard from Paul. Whatever we decide on consensus tonight, we need to tell Jen, so she brings that to the table for us next Tuesday, so we can vote on it.
I wanna clarify, reducing budget does not mean cutting positions for part-time. So he could,
It has to.
why is that? Because if someone is working, no, it doesn't. You can have 5 people on your part-time payroll and they each work less.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cutting budget for part-time doesn't mean you're cutting positions.
No, we don't, I mean, the positions aren't filled, so, I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there, do we know how long it did? Sorry, I know it's been a lot, I do not know that.
I do not know that off the top of my
No.
head.
So the number you came up with, Sam, was, over a period of time, where it was.
So the spreadsheet, the Excel document we had, received has the actuals for 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. And then also the year to date as of February 19th, which is 60% through the fiscal year. So I took the average of the fully completed years, those 4 years, that average is 93,285. And then I took the year-to-date spending, divided it by 0.6 to get, you know, if things were to progress through the rest of the fiscal year, and that was 76,425 projected. So the average of those 5 numbers is 89,913. And my comment was, he budgeted 138,881.
There is cost of living raises in each one of those.
So
years.
my, for lack of a better term, proposal was to cut that line item $40,000, which brings it to 98,881, which is above all the 4 prior fiscal years that have been completed and the estimate based on the year-to-date spending. So it's above all of those. So if it went, yeah.
Just to clarify for me, we had 40,000 to be deducted from the transfer station. Now we're also talking about 40,000 to come off the police department.
That's what he's talking
Right now,
about.
we're just talking about
Yes.
40,000 on
This is
police.
not a definitive direction yet.
We haven't got
We're just-
transfer, but yes, right now,
So,
so Sam's proposal on the table is to take $40,000 from the police budget. Joel?
Change anything yet.
Yeah, don't do anything.
understand.
Yeah, no,
Make
no,
sure I
no,
remember
we will
what
make,
talk.
we will make sure it's clear in mere moments.
Dragon.
Do you need a second or something?
No, I'm looking for consensus
We need
because I need to
confirmation.
tell Jen what she needs.
Yeah,
to
no, I
do.
think based on history, Sam's point makes sense.
So
So yes.
you wanna cut forward.
Okay, great.
Sam,
Yeah,
cut 40, Jen. Consensus from the council wants $40,000 off the police budget.
I want to make note that as these budgets are approved on a departmental basis, the same exercise could be run on the overtime line item, which would yield the same result over the last 4 complete fiscal years and year-to-date projected to the tune of approximately $30,000. I'm not proposing that, I'm just saying that exercise could be done with the same result of $30,000 net, the appearance of an over budget of $30,000. So,
I am on board with the consensus of the council because it is the consensus of the council. I would like to say one thing, and I will not bring this up again. I just want to remind us that the chief has come to us for years and years, and specifically last week, asking for additional positions. And the message we are now sending is that we are not on board with adding any of those additional positions. We would actually like to take away hours. And, you guys know, I'm not on board with this decision, but if this is the will of the council, I will get on board because that's how this works.
So 40, that's what you'll present in the packet for us next Tuesday. So it'll be 98, 881. Right, what's the number you popped?
For that particular line,
Yeah,
98,881, correct.
okay. Okay, so that takes care of police. Now we move down to transfer station. That's the last thing we need to discuss tonight.
Not sure that we had a consensus on the planner, did we?
Oh, yeah, we haven't talked about that yet.
Okay,
Sorry, I forgot about the planner.
that's all right.
We'll go to transfer station, then we'll go to planner.
Very good.
Sorry, thank you, Jen.
Okay.
So we know the proposal of taking 40 away from transfer station, that will cut positions. Which is gonna make it tight. Yes, sir.
So I went over and spent an hour talking with Kenny at transfer station on Saturday about this. We looked at scheduling and so I don't recommend cutting this, well, 3 of the positions, 4 of the positions are what we call full-time, that's Kenny is the transfer station supervisor, so he works 35 hours a week. Though the transfer station's only open 27, 27, but he does extra stuff, maintenance work. The other 3, the girl in the office, which takes all the cash, that was a result of financial practices, making sure the money was handled only in one spot, so I'm not willing to give that up. There's 2 others that are full-time, and then 3 others that are part-time. 2 others that are full-time, so basically you need to have someone in the yard. We're open Wednesday 7 to 3, Thursday 12 to 6. Saturday 7 to 3 and Sunday 7 to noon. So we have to have other part-time people in the yard because someone's always gonna be watching when we have household debris demo come in, because someone has to go over and make sure that what they're putting. So that takes care of 1 person. 1 person always has to stay at recycling, at the 2 recycling, so there's 2. So we need a minimum of usually 4. Ideally, we can run with 3 on minimal days. Wednesday's not terribly busy. Beyond that, if you cut that 40,000, that'll I'll end up laying off 1 to 2 staff persons to get to that. And that's fine. So all we'll end up doing is probably when somebody calls out sick, we'll close the transfer station. I don't have the staff to man it. And then when, Kenny said what we'll do is we can, as far as household debris, we'll only accept it on Saturdays. Right now, we accept it all 4 days, we'll only accept it on Saturdays.
Just because of manning issues, okay? All right, so that being said,
Just one question.
go ahead.
Just to be clear, with these suggestions, except for when someone is sick, this is not changing the operating hours of the transfer station. Because we recently, as part of the council, we were open, 3 days a week, and we recently expanded Tuesday, Wednesday, and we broke it up into 2 shifts because we had guys working 12-hour shifts in the rain, and no one wants to do that, and we intentionally split it into Tuesday and Wednesday, so people could work reasonable shifts, as well as adding additional day for the residents. So removing $40,000 is not gonna change our operating hours.
It could, that's another option,
Yeah,
instead of losing a person.
we could eliminate a day. That's
Oh, no,
fine.
I'm not, that's not necessarily what I'm suggesting, I just wanted to make sure that like removing people doesn't force us to change our operating hours. Unless someone is sick,
There are people don't always show up, it's a transfer station.
yeah.
A lot of times where we have people out sick and it's an outside job. There's only 1 young guy there, all the rest of the staff is.
Yeah, they're all retired, they're doing something to do.
It's hard to find people to work
I,
on.
like I said,
So 4 full-time? I don't see any line for full-time employees on this.
not full-time. They operate,
Only Kenny's fault.
Kenny's full-time. They operate
Like
27.
FTE full-time or just every time the dump is open?
They're not totally 48 hours a week, no, they're working anywhere between 23 and 27 hours a week.
So they don't get 32.
Kenny does,
So he's a full-time employee
correct. And then Paige,
and he's under the part-time wages here.
they're all under one spot, right?
Oh, yep, they are, that can be separated.
And the dump requires 3 to 4 people to operate.
Yep,
So should we stop staffing it at 6?
sure.
And what would that savings be?
You tell me the number.
That's, I mean. If it takes 3 or 4 people. And the 6 there, we're overstaffed.
No, because the 6 handle different part-time hours.
So
they're
not six
all
all
there.
at once.
No, they are. I mean, I go to the dump, they're 6.
What I heard from Tim is he said minimum staffing was 4. Like bare minimum.
On some days when it's busy, all 6 are busy. I will do whatever you folks wanna do. You wanna diminish the hours? Tell me what that is and I'll make that work.
I'm not seeing the bang for the buck. We finally got a transfer station that is actually, the town has no issues with. It works. There's 0 complaints. The hours are working. I'm not seeing a bang for the buck in trying to change what's over there. Because again, we've sat here and listened to people complain year after year. And since we've made these adjustments and changes with the staff, it's been 4-up. There's been no complaints. It's not a black hole of money. You know, since we went to our new trash disposal for a 30-year contract, we're saving even more.
The revenue for bag sales is to date 108,000, I think it is, on that sheet we got. Or total revenue into the
Pay per bag,
department.
125 is what we've, what we've planned so far for this year, 125,000.
For the bags, yes. So we've taken into date 132,979 at the time this was done on February 11th.
Paper bag.
That was for all revenues into the dump.
Correct.
Sorry.
On the revenue.
So. Year to date, 132,000 in, year to date, 372,000 out. You know. As far as the black hole, I mean, it sort of is a black hole to the tune of $250,000.
It's a transfer station and it's a service for the public. It's
Trash.
not there to make money.
Correct.
It's not.
You're right, it's there to charge cost of what it costs, so that those using it. Pay what it costs versus through the tax subsidy.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I know.
So let's stop with.
Yeah, I got-
Stop with that. What do we want to do?
Can
I mean, I'm still sticking to my 40 because I've been to the dump and I've seen the people.
No, which is good. You're sticking to your 40.
Can I ask a clarifying point? I agree with Sam, I do feel like there are a lot there, but also to John's point, I love going to the dump, it's amazing, never there's wonderful.
It's a transfer station and it took me 8 years. I got
Sorry,
yelled at. So
transfer
it's a
station.
transfer station.
Transfer station,
8 years I got yelled at.
custodial engineering, transfer station.
Yeah.
I know on Sunday, they only allow, I can't remember the proper term, household debris.
Yeah.
Or something, do we allow that on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
I believe so, yes.
Can we take that away on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Yeah, that's what he suggested.
Okay, but then also, is there any scenario, because to John's point, people are not happy. Is there any scenario that brings back leaf pickup at the dump? That we could potentially.
No, I don't understand this. And I'd love to have this conversation with you outside of here, but they can drop off leaves 1 mile up Route 4 on the left, 7 days a week from dusk till dawn. They don't have to go to the transfer station, they don't have to fight turning left in the dreaded traffic. And it's free to the town, it doesn't cost us any money. I don't know why we would ever go back. I've never heard, since we've gone to it, I've never had anybody complain to me. I've had a lot of people tell me it's great, they can go 7 days a week.
That's, I mean, I've had 12, it's just,
Yeah.
it's simply just a question.
No, I know, I just wanted, like I said, I wanna have this conversation with you, because you brought it up before, and I'm wondering where that came from.
I keep hearing it, that's why.
Really?
Yes,
You can stop talking to
There's
people.
one complaint here that I'm aware of.
okay. No, it's like, I'm just asking. The whole point of this is to have a conversation.
No, that's what we're having.
So, okay, that was my one.
Alright, so back to consensus on $40,000. I'm gonna go no, because I am not gonna deal with the public coming to me about cutting hours or services at the transfer station. I think it's fine the way it is, but that's me. Leave it in. Joel?
I'm not sure yet.
Well, yeah, got till I get back to you. Mallory?
Yep.
Please, if you could. No?
I'm on board, I am on the same page as John. I simply just, I guess, from my past experience and all of the work, kind of changes and complaints and issues we've had with the transfer station, and I feel like that has finally settled, like for the first time in my tenure as a council, the transfer station finally feels like it's like working, and this feels contrary to that, so I'm not supportive of it.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm in favor of this. I think what Mallory said is right. I mean, I've been going there for 35 years and I didn't always have a great experience, but I have had, it's been working really well. I would think, I respect Sam's position on this, I always think as we move along and people retire or move on to other jobs, I think it's a great time to take a look at the way we're operating and whether we can make some changes. And I would encourage us to do that, but for the time being, I'm fine with the way it's going over there.
in transfer station, you're still at 40.
Yeah.
Nothing done.
I'll follow line on it, yeah.
Well, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Don't let the other one, don't agree with you, so,
Oh, well, wait, I think we have 3, so.
yeah, no, but, yeah.
One other comment I do have is related, similar exercise that I do with the police part-time would be the hauling fees, and I understand, it's hard to estimate those, but just trying to find, money here and there to, anything to help with the fire department. So ran $108,000 to date, forecast out to $180,000. I'm wondering if there's any rationale behind the 220 versus closer to the 180. And I understand this year was more because of the new contract versus prior years, so I didn't consider those averages, which were down below 100,000. So yeah, just wondering if there's any reason we didn't go closer to that 180, like a 190 or 200 versus the 220.
So both contracts last year were brand new. So, and what's that?
We haven't been through.
We haven't been 3 years, so we left them both kind of where we thought they might come in. We do have a formula where every year we take the tonnage times the amount of disposal fees. And that gives us a budgeted number, but we try to put money in. And we didn't know the additional cost, we didn't know how close we were gonna be, because we changed both haulers and tippers.
We don't have a year's worth of data with our current hauling situation to
Right.
be able to estimate, so swag.
And a lot of people do a lot of spring cleaning, so sometimes that can get ramped up in the spring.
So one of the things that you will notice for the transfer station is if you look at, and I'm sure you've already investigated this, looking around at Summersworth and Dover, and that our bags are relatively a lot cheaper than everybody else around us. So maybe one of the ways to increase revenues is if you folks to change your bag rates.
Yeah, no, that's a discussion for today, of course, but
And there's only Jeff on board, so we better get better bags if we're changing the bag fee. I'm gonna say that before everybody else says
Yeah,
it.
you're
We
right.
better get better bags before we up our prices.
Account for that in the next budget.
Yes, I don't disagree, we're cheaper, but we need to get bags that,
Oh, rep.
yeah.
Yeah, I think this,
Put your finger on.
I know, just, I've done my own rough calculations on how many people in town use the dump based on bag sales, and I really think it's down closer to that, transfer station.
So just
I
an
do.
example, I use the dump, my family and I use the dump, but we don't buy the bags. So like, I'm a user of the dump,
Right,
I
yeah.
don't buy bags, and I think there's probably plenty of people that are in that same boat.
Recycling.
Yeah, that's.
We have someone pick up trash at our house.
Yeah, she uses,
Yeah.
she uses the, so don't I have a dumpster at my house. And when you see my driveway, it's gonna cost me $5,000 for my dumpster this year, because I'm trying to see some.
Yeah, so just for future conversations, there's totally like hybrid approaches to this, where we can still leverage, utilize the fact that we have that eco main contract for recyclables and stuff, and then also,
Yeah,
yeah,
I,
future conversation.
I kudos to you guys for doing the single string stuff. I mean, it's just awesome. It works 1,000 times better.
So we have a consensus there. Now, the only thing we have now is the planner.
Keeping the 40,000 in, correct?
Yeah, we need something to write with it.
So, can I just do a quick recap of like changes we've adopted? We've adopted the removal of the HR director and adding $25,000 to the consultant. That's already baked in.
Correct.
We have, as a consensus of the council, opted to remove, what, 40,000? So we said for part-time.
Yep.
And then we all just discussed, and we are not going to remove 40,000 for the transfer station.
Correct.
Great, okay, thank you.
And
And
we,
we're gonna keep the 12 for fire, EMT.
yep, and we are getting rid of the one full-time for the police.
Yes.
Yeah, I just to stay on track with everything we've
Thank you.
done with consensus on.
And keeping the
And
car.
keeping
Keeping the car, yes.
Okay.
So now we move to plan. We'll go with, we've had a great, DeCarlo, thank you again, Sam, for having the suggestion to bring DeCarlo in, that helped a lot. What say you on hiring the planner?
I'm on board.
Paul?
Yes, I'm good with it. I do have some thoughts and which I'll relate to Tim about, just coming with.
Alternatives, but
Well, no, there are, no, I think, DeCarlo's extremely busy. I just want to make sure that certain codes are being updated and, that there's a real plan in place for this person, because there's a ton going on over there and.
the purpose of the budget, you're good.
Get the game plan on. Yeah.
All right, Joel?
I'm not for it. I didn't feel like it was really defended that well. It doesn't sound like we need another person for it. With that being said, when we do move for budgets next year, I think we need to make a requirement that you submit a job description with respect to duties and tasks of the facility.
Again, good suggestion, Mallory?
I'm on board. I think that, it's important to keep the momentum going that we've got. And I also think that the fact that we could fund this 75% from the TIF, is important. I think it's incredibly important for just kind of, just for DeCarlo as an employee, he's here every night. It feels like. And I also know that since DeCarlo has come on board, the amount of additional revenue is not the right word, but additional funding opportunities we have found, through all of our TIF amendments, et cetera, has been incredibly valuable. Like the amount of money that we would still have to include in this budget if that work hadn't happened. I think we really need to just remember, and I think that the emphasis on, DeCarlo's point for me of, if he discovers a grant but he knows he doesn't have the capacity to manage it, to me is money that we're potentially losing out on, and bringing in an additional person will help us with that. So I'm on board.
All right. Bang for the buck for me. It's again, because of TIF. It's not really costing the town payers that much for the benefits we'll receive on the other side, as long as Like Paul and Sam have both said, as long as there's clear direction going forward, I have no issue that DeCarlo will have clear direction and have plenty for this employee to do, because he seems to keep a very tight schedule for himself, so. Consensus is that stays, Jen, so with that being said,
One more decision.
yep, correct, so,
Sorry,
no,
can we talk about the reserves,
for,
the reserve accounts, the 900?
Yeah,
Proposed 925. No, this is the
CIP?
CIP reserves.
I'm confused, but okay.
The. This one right here, the purple.
No, I got it, I was just confused as why we were going backwards, I thought we went through it all already, but I'm good,
Um,
throw it up there.
so understanding, with, again, we're taking on a huge task here with the additional fire and EMS service. And obviously, I think I've made it clear, I think capital planning is super important and something that the town needs to start thinking more about, more like a 10 to 25-year term. But in consideration of the year that we're coming into, and as I've stated previously, and others have, the revaluation, all the good stuff we talked about. The $925,600 recommended request to be moved into these accounts, versus there are $379,670 in commitments in these accounts. That would, so basically saying the minimum that we have to contribute is that amount. I have done this math, 925, 600, 379, 670. So that nets $545,000 into the reserves of uncommitted money. I understand that there are projects that are wanting to be done this year. Projects that have started that should be finished. I just am wondering also, is there a number in between that 925 and that 379 that is more appropriate considering everything else? I mean, I think there is. I guess I'm opening up the question for a conversation.
I mean, why is there some huge discrepancy?
292,000 is for roads, to keep up with road work. That's one of them. Assessing,
Oh, is that not counted in the total?
no, that's not a must, it's not a financed option.
Okay,
What is in purple for obligations is a financed option that we must pay. The rest of them are the CIP plans that we put forward
Like the,
as we normally do. So if, as to Sam's point, this is important, so anything that we might take off the table this time, we would have to seriously consider putting back on next year.
Which we did when we took it out last year
yeah,
for CIP.
It would, I just think it would dampen the impact and turn, I know, for lack of a better phrase, the 2-year project, it could stretch out that, it could stretch that out, you know what I mean? Instead of going from 0 to 1,000, we're going a little slower to get to that spot. And I understand the importance of these accounts and helping them maintain some funding. But one example off the bat is the compensated absences. The balance there is $320,000, and the proposed contribution this year is $50,000, with an annual average payout of $30,000. When the CPA came and gave his presentation, this account and this new adoption of I think it was like statement, one of the GASB statements that we're now complying with. He sort of cautioned on the figuring out what, it's sort of nebulous as to what the balance should be in this account, and we need to just keep paying, like, keep close attention as to how we're contributing to it. And I'm just thinking with that larger balance of $320,000 and the average annual payout of $30,000, would it hurt to not contribute this year to that balance to, again, help stretch out the impact?
I have a question, because I don't think this is a bad idea, but on the compensation absences, like detail sheet, I see this note that says estimated liability 410,000.
That means if the town were to close down today and we paid out everyone's sick, vacation, PTO, earned time, how much we would owe.
That's worst case scenario.
That is worst case scenario.
What has to be on the books if there was a fallout tomorrow? But again, if there was a fallout tomorrow, the town closed, no one's gonna sue.
And we did reduce it to 10,000 last year, knowing that we'd bring it back up this year, but. Yeah. If I was gonna cut one, that would be the one.
I'm open to cutting that one, I think, given the past history, given that, we have a substantial balance there that we're not regularly using, I think that is one that I would be in favor of bringing down again this year, potentially cutting. I do think it's important that we just like keep track of these things that we're cutting and how that might be disrupting any type of, capital improvement plan that may exist. But that's one, I think that's a good idea.
Consensus? Joel?
Yes.
Miller, you good, Sam? I mean, I know Sam's good. Paul?
Yeah.
Good. All right, I'm good.
Are we cutting it completely or?
I think it's zero, yeah. Zero contribution for CIPCA 310-3120.
And
All right. Anything else?
The other one looking at was transfer station equipment 320-3261. They have an estimated balance in their account of 49,545 at the end of this current fiscal year. Their plan, it appears, is to replace a single roll-off container each year. It looks like this year they utilize the funds to for the outbuildings. And they have proposed a contribution this year of $20,000 into that account. I think again, it's understanding that my opinion is not to do this every year at all. That $20,000 and even deferring a procurement of a roll-off container for 1 year, or procuring it because they have a semi-healthy balance for the transfer station of estimated $50,000, would be to not contribute to the transfer station capital fund this year.
Consensus on that one, Joel?
Yes.
Mallory?
I have a couple of questions just before, is there any from staff, any concern about that, any, like, I don't know, just given equipment, you know, there's always kind of potential for unknowns, do you guys have any reactions to that?
No, I don't think at this point, I think we're sitting in pretty good shape. We may need a new container, but if we need to, we've got enough money, I think, to buy one, so. It's fine.
Okay.
I would do it every year, but.
Yeah, I'm good with that for this year.
Paul? Sure. Sam's good. Consensus is cut that from that CIP. All right. Anything else in CIP?
Assessing, I know I've gone through all these. I don't know if you guys like what you guys' practices for going through and doing, or looking at and stuff, but assessing is looking into their account balance estimated at the end of this fiscal year is $4,627. With a proposed contribution of $61,000. And proposed purchases of $45,000 to update the GIS software. And then $20,000 for a new vehicle for assessing. I guess I'm wondering if the GIS software update of $45,000 this year is necessary. I guess that would be a burning question. I apologize for not coming forth earlier with that question.
Would that be paid for by TIF funds? I mean,
It's possible we could do a percentage.
I mean, I'm for it. I don't want to say it eliminated. I'm a big GIS guy. I think the town needs it. We were lagging in GIS for years. And we finally got that up to speed, so.
I'm with you on that one, Mallory,
I agree, I think we need to keep that on.
Joel.
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
But I would investigate the TIF. You know me, everything, there's always gotta be TIF funds somewhere. I don't know where it all comes from.
So I'm gonna caution one thing that I always say on TIF. You won't be here when the TIF runs out, but Stan might be. And then you're gonna have to find a way to pay all this stuff that we're paying from TIF now when that TIF runs out. So
Big dollars.
that rainy day fund will dry out. Anything else?
20 years.
CIP, Sam?
20 years.
I have a question about, so there's one account called Transfer Station Professional Services. It's 320-3261, planning and development and implementation to redesign the layout at the transfer station. It looks like that there's no projected, contribution this year, but its balance remains $16,262. Is redirecting those funds something that happens during the town meeting process?
So that would have to be a warrant question.
So I'm wondering if there should be a warrant related to zeroing out the balance of that fund into back to the general fund, if this is no longer active project.
It was that, I think that was like the University of,
Yeah.
Maine or UNH or somebody.
UMaine did a study, they gave us a whole thing, but the implementation of it would have cost us
Yeah,
a gajillion dollars. So we were, I don't know, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, putting money into a fund to do that, but you're right, if we're not doing it.
we should put it on.
So was this for construction or was this for design?
Design.
Design.
Like a total like rework flow,
What say you, Mr. Town Manager?
all of the.
We redesigned it for a lot last week. We did everything that we've done for under,
So
100,000, whatever, so it's working now.
put in a warrant article to get rid of it? Okay,
To get rid of it or put it into the other?
put it into the other.
Yeah.
The other.
Into the other or back to the general fund?
Either one.
6 one way, haven't done the other.
How much, what is the balance, like 60,000?
60,000.
I don't think I've done. Either way, but.
I guess it would be sort of a net zero to reducing the transfer station's contribution this year. They were proposed 20,000 to 16 here, so.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, then,
Move it.
yeah, move it over and that gives them back there.
Very good.
Yep. I'm gonna look to you because nobody else has anything else on CIP.
Similar question about EMA disaster supplies. It looks like we haven't contributed to that since FY 23.
Right, so we had originally made that after we had several winter storms that we ended up opening shelters and we had no money to provide any services for those shelters. So we started putting money in that line, we created that line so that during a disaster, the chief or the EMA director or whoever could get, say, coffee or might get canned food, yeast, whatever. Cause we had nothing. And we just stopped funding it. It's just, we haven't had the money in the last couple of years, but it's supposed to be 5,000 a year going in there and building every year so that if we have a big disaster, we can hand out,
So
coffee and
leave what's there for what it is.
Yeah, it sounds like a good purpose.
Yeah.
On the monthly sheet that we get with the balances, there's an account for LED light upgrades. I forget if I brought this up or not in the past. That doesn't show up in the spreadsheet.
We haven't been contributing to it for quite some time. That was a CIP account that was set up to, when we got rid of all the old, streetlights
Yeah,
in town, and we upgraded them to the LED. We've just been using that money to do repairs, so it is a little bit heavy
So
for
that-
small repairs that we do.
so is that a project that's been implemented and has been done such that that should be returned to the general fund?
That
There's-
was,
For reference, it's a balance of $10,835.
yep, and we've just been using it for repairs of those streetlights.
Should
Traffic.
the repairs be captured under an operating budget for streetlights?
We certainly could do that.
So maybe, I guess I'm suggesting that LED light upgrade balance be returned to the general fund and the reserve account be closed out.
Well, then.
Do we have enough
Yeah,
money
yeah,
allocated
yeah.
for potential repairs in our operating budget then?
We probably add at least 1,000 or extra for repairs in the streetlight department.
Sounds good to me.
Joel?
Good.
Mallory?
And sorry, what we're good on is moving those funds to the general fund, but adding $1,000 to the lighting budget to ensure we have money for repairs. Is that what I was saying?
Got it, Doctor?
Yes, I did it.
Okay,
That-
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yes, I'm good with that.
okay. And that's 150-1570. So that Public Works streetlight is currently proposed at 11,000, so that will go up to 12,000.
Any other CIP stuff? We also have to talk about undesignated fund.
Alright. We're done with CIP. Jen, you should be able to get close with what we've done with down below, right, with undesignated? We haven't changed enough to really pose up your numbers?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so consensus is, this is the budget with the changes that consensus of the board that us have made tonight, the council. Everybody's good with this budget being presented to us next Tuesday, the way it stands right now,
Including all the changes.
including all the changes that we've made tonight.
Yes.
Yes? Yep. Okay. So, last but not least, Jen at the bottom.
So I punched those numbers in, so what you're seeing in the yellow box, Joel, it might be easier to show behind you. This is the percentage of the increase. With 800, 900,000 and $1 million from undesignated. 15.5, 14.7, 13.29. The other thing I would like to show you before you make that decision is the amount of the undesignated in our minimum, for our minimum policy is 4.4 million. In this scenario, in the green box, it has a scenario of the 900,000, so it's easy to add 100 minus 100, depending which way we go, if we change it. That would leave in above and beyond our minimum policy, almost 2 million in the undesignated balance.
Now, remember that the scary numbers on the left on the increase is not what people's taxes are going up.
And I made that note.
No, I just wanna make sure it's very clear that that is not how much people's taxes are going up.
That is correct. This is one small piece of many to calculate the mill rate.
This service,
Okay, so,
I think we should say it one more time for people. One more time.
no, they don't.
Three people out there.
point of interest on the undesignated fund. That you need to know. So this is all well and fine, so. Even if you only go with the 800,000. Then that leaves you a balance of what in your undesignated fund.
Only 1.2 I'm rounding up.
Okay. One major disaster away from an event that's gonna take a huge chunk of money out of that. Once that occurs, the following year, you will not be able to draw that 900,000 out of that account. That means the taxpayer is gonna have to fund the additional 900,000 if you're not careful. So I've seen that occur 3 or 4 different, and that bellies up the town, that puts the town upside down because of.
Yep.
So just be aware of, I know it sounds good to say we're gonna take $1 million this year, but keep in mind. FEMA has stopped funding or raised our funding by 50%, so chances of us getting storm recovery money have dwindled down to hardly nothing. And you have one major storm or one major disaster, we gotta buy a fire truck, we gotta buy a plow truck. Building burns down, some of that stuff's insured, but there's always gonna be incidentals. Point being, next year, if, what happens if there's not 900,000 for us to take?
So we've always stayed under $1 million again, and you guys have heard me say it, because it's a much easier sell to the people in the crowd if it's 900,000 or 800,000. We've always stayed under $1 million because it's just easier. I think we did it last
We
year,
did do it.
but we did it last year, we did it this year, and
We did 1.3.
because of the
Or
fire
fire.
department and EMS. That's why we did. I would not wanna go, me personally, again, speaking for me, I would not wanna go to the public taking $1 million out of undesignated.
And I also think that this is a topic that people kind of get flip off the sides on, like what John is saying, but then also taxpayers, there's also, I think, a lot of people who are like, yeah, you're gonna take $1 million off of what you could have given to me, right? So there's, I think our residents often see this undesignated fund as like a, you know, an additional way for us to help the tax burden. So it really is like our, in my opinion, like our greatest lever, I guess. But it comes with consequences. And I think a great example is like, I know, the school district is not in this situation from an undesignated fund standpoint. And so every time something comes up, they are having to incur more and more debt because they don't have this additional rainy day fund. And so it just is a decision that requires a lot of finesse. There's a lot of factors to it, so.
Jen, do you, how much do you anticipate adding to that? in June?
I have right
In
here
July.
400,000, and do you have that in the calculation?
I mean, is it in that cap?
Yep,
It's
It's in
that.
the green one right here, 400,000, and the undesignated balance, so that's a
I
projection.
got you.
Again,
It's on your
that
sheet too,
that could be
it's not
three,
right
that could be 350, it could be 500, depends, go buy a new car, Paul.
Could you go over the total on the other side of the sheet?
This is with our options that we
So-
changed.
What we just. The yellow is what we just exercised, all the exercises we just went through,
Yes, we have a negative 39,000 to the budget.
including. What we just talked about related to the reserves too.
All the CIP stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I'm waiting there, I'm not gonna say these things.
Can I ask a procedural question? Do we make this decision now,
What?
that on how much undesignated?
So yes, because I have to draw, we have to draw it into the budget and it's.
Or,
It's in the budget.
or when we put the warrant together?
Yes,
Yes, it's part of the budget calculation.
and then we're not gonna set the tax rate until August, and we're not gonna have figures to be able to set the tax rate until before August. So this is the part that causes a lot of anxiety between now and then. We're going forward with, we're gonna come up tonight on consensus on what we're gonna pull out on designated, so when we have the budget presented to us next Tuesday, this is what we're rolling with to put out to the public. And then once we go to the town meeting and all the warrant articles are voted on and say they all pass, and then we'll come back, we'll combine that with the school budget. Then we'll start doing the mill rate and the confusing sheets that where we come up with, we set the mill rate, which is what actually sets the tax rate.
Right.
So.
So we
again, I
need
know
to
it's-
set this rate without knowing what the school will actually, where they'll land,
That's
where
correct.
the
Correct.
county will land.
100%.
Where.
Yep.
Is state, how about the state funding, revenue sharing, all.
And all that, same thing. So again, the point I'm trying to get to you is understand that we talked about an agreed revenue amount. But if that revenue amount comes in $200,000 short next year, we either have to make that up somewhere in cuts or where our designated is gonna get whacked a lot less than what we had anticipated, or a lot more than what we had anticipated, sorry.
That 400,000. That includes the approximate 300 that's still in overlay, correct?
The 400,000 in overlay?
Right now, there's approximately $300,000 in the overlay revenue, or the overlay
Yeah,
budgeted 320 something or other. And there's only been about 26,000 in, withdrawals.
correct,
So of that that's part of that 400.
correct.
So,
It could be more, it could be less. I'm conservative here.
so the remainder of the municipal budget was about $100,000 under,
We won't know that till after the audit.
or basically projected.
Projected.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking is because I see that overlay account as sort of a quote unquote overtaxation that if not used would, it goes into the unrestricted designated fund, but as it pertains to the number we're trying to come up with right now, that accounts for 33% of that 900. So it's just an interesting metric if you're trying to, so like the net, does that make sense? Like, you're with the overlay is outside of the municipal budget, right? And last year, the number was 326,000. And to date, it was about 26,000 that's been drawn off of it.
Okay.
So it's sort of like taking from undesignated and putting it back in, so to speak, like,
100%.
you know what I mean?
That's exactly what
Yeah.
I said. But I wanna say the overlay, which again is not for us to decide tonight, that is a decision for us for August, but the overlay is intended to be funds for people who are requesting tax abatements. We heard from Verna that there are a number of tax abatements that have been applied for because of the recent reevaluation. And
Yeah.
so I think like especially for this year, that overlay, I think is definitely gonna become important for us to plan for in the event that people might be granted some abatements.
But they've only totaled $26,000 this year.
Agreed, but I heard
And
from
on-
Verna the
on
other
an
day,
accrual
she's got
basis.
like 30 outstanding ones.
It's 30 outstanding ones. Do we know what the total,
No, because we haven't agreed to them.
right, but we don't, do we know what the total potential impact is of those abatements?
We don't, this time. I,
And again, the overlay is not something for us to,
Well,
it's
the
not.
reason I bring it up, because
nailed down.
the existing overlay does contribute to this discussion, because if there's 300,000 surplus, so to speak, that if there's 300,000 of the allocated overlay this year, and this point in the fiscal year, if we knew what that potential, if all were to be approved, what that drawdown would be, then we could say more distinctly for withdrawing for this undesignated fund decision we're talking about now, and then also making our decision in August as to what we should carry based on historical data from last year. So it all ties together.
100.
So. What do you?
I guess what I'm saying is I think I feel like for this particular year, I would push that 900,000 higher to estimate to get to a point where maybe we could, not be providing a 14 mill rate of $14 and something lower. And I understand there's other things contributing to it, but I think that if we're up to, then we're gonna be up in that range.
I think it's just important for us to understand that like of the budget that this body has responsibility over, which is just the municipal budget, which is 25% of what goes up the tax rate. For us to make any significant impact on the mill rate, we would have to cut our municipal budget in half or more for us to move anything considerably. That's just the facts, that's how things shake out. The majority of what sets the tax rate is the school budget, we don't have influence over. If we wanna if this body wants to make a significant change to the tax rate, we would have to like completely kneecap the town. And we'd probably need the school to do something similar to make a big difference. So I just wanna level set of like the power that we actually have when it comes to setting the tax rate is really not very much.
It's also the
Because the
reason,
municipal budget is only a portion of what taxpayers are paying for.
it's,
So last year municipal budget was 43% of the total.
so it's also the reason why, if you look at our mill rate, we could have went down more last year. We didn't, because we didn't want such a big yo-yo this year. Every year we've set the mill rate, we could go lower than that mill rate is there right now. We could have dropped down a little bit more from that, but then this year, the spike would have been greater. So when we go to set the mill rate, again, that's one thing we have to be careful of, is not to give people giant fluctuations. They're already getting the fluctuation this year of the reeval, which we knew was coming, which was another reason why we didn't drop that as low as it could, to try to keep it even keel going across the board.
Knowing that we've had some increases this year. Always that.
So understanding where you're coming from, you're right, if there's 300,000 and that's going in designated, really, we'd end up with 1.3 instead of 1.2, right?
We're drawing 600 instead of 900.
No, I understand all, but when we have to sit in front of the town without those numbers being real, we know what they could be, but without facts to know they're real, how are we gonna sell to the 200 people in the audience? We wanna take 1.2 million out of designated, because it's gonna leave us down below, right? So we have to be careful with that yin yang. I don't have an issue with 9. If consensus goes to 1 million, consensus goes to 1 million, I would not wanna go over 1 million just because we did it last year. The reason being was sound, and I don't know if it's based on projected we're gonna return, is it sound enough earning for us to sell to the public? That's just me.
Mr. Chair,
Yep, please go ahead.
I'm happy to continue with this. I also agree with 9 personally. After we're done with this, I have one more budget thing that I forgot to bring out.
No.
I'm sorry, this for me.
For a change.
Yes, I'm very sorry.
Let's do that.
You found it $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not good. No, but, looking at the general assistance fund, 160-1630. We have heard it commented on, like, when we were like running all that we have this fund that people can apply to get assistance, but there's a lot of limitations set by it, which is how we get 70% from the state. Would anyone be open to suggesting a warrant article that instead of the leftover money going to an undesignated fund, we create a South Berwick fund that doesn't have as many constraints?
We can't with taxpayer money, and that would just put us in a black hole. Because how are we gonna pick who we fund, and then if we can't fund somebody, it needs to go back to where it was. It's taxpayer money, we can't just give it away.
I enjoy this idea, but I am not comfortable making any decision on this idea, because I think this idea needs to be vetted with legal.
One other note to that is this, if we go with this budget, Mainstay, I said that right, is gonna be doing their general assistance. And I don't wanna say that no one's gonna follow the rules, but someone could be a little more squishy with the rules.
Mhm.
So that could change the amount being given out.
Right, but I think Joel's saying for this.
Yeah, like
For this,
for this
Fiscal
current budget,
year.
we have. Like, as it stands right now, they've only used a little bit over 2,500, and they have 31,500.
Mhm.
So like, what,
I would love to see the legal. With any of that.
Which we're not gonna have before we need to make this decision, so.
What about a warrant article that would just specifically put surplus funds into a reserve account for further general, like, for example, the 19,000 for the administrator program could potentially be funded from prior year's excess funds.
I mean, I know towns have set up their own sort of small scale tax relief programs. For seniors, I mean, Kittery did. So, I know, we can't, I don't know if we're gonna get this done by the,
You're not, that's the thing, nothing you're saying right now is gonna get done by next Tuesday. Unfortunately.
Joel, is your suggestion for the general assistance from a budget standpoint for this year? to change the amount for general assistance or to just take our excess funds?
Call the attorney.
Explore what extra.
Like, when you take the access and put it somewhere for residents to apply for, like, it's been brought up repeatedly that
Yeah.
people don't apply for, it, they don't know it's there. Hell, if we need to move it to the food bank.
Yeah.
Like, just,
So for the purposes of budget, you're not suggesting making any dollar amount change, we're just,
At the end,
if you want to
it's-
explore what options may be available to us. To what could we potentially do with those extra funds? Are there options available to us that we could? So I think this is more of just like a legal investigative question.
Yes, I mean, to go
Then-
back to what Sam said, I mean, couldn't you just put it in a reserve account under something?
A general assistance reserve account.
If we find it wasn't, and, you know, we may get yelled at a town meeting, but whatever. And, you know, and then if it's not legal, then we'll.
It doesn't work that way. We can't go with if it's not legal when we go to a town
But
meeting.
I think you can fund it.
But I don't think, but sorry, I just wanna try to keep us on track. So no one is making any suggestions to change the budget. So for that reason, can we say, let's talk about this at a next meeting or ask the staff to look into, or ask the question of legal? It's just, hey, we would like to explore ways to take this excess general assistance funds and use it to benefit the community in some type of way, whether that be through tax relief or South Shore TSA fund or whatever, and just understand what, if that's an option, and if it is an option, then we can add that to a future warrant. Does that work?
Hey, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm not.
What does it take to form a reserve account? Does that have to be done during town meeting?
Citizens have to form.
So it would be following May, it'd be the next year. It would not be this May.
Right.
So that's why I said, we're not gonna get there, I don't think.
But that's what I'm saying, if the account was just formed and funded with $10 via a warrant article in this town meeting, then it would be there.
You could form it next year with the money that's left over, going into the new budget season. So the $10 isn't gonna help you, but you guys going into next year's budget season can, or when we get done with tonight with this, whether we choose to stay tonight or we come back to go over the changes that everybody wants to see in the way next year's budget's presented to you, you could add that in next year, because $10 isn't gonna make a difference this year. Right? You could just, again, make that motion next year and have a warrant article put right in. That'd be my suggestion, rather than try to muddy the waters and explain to the town why we're creating a reserve account for $10 this year, just to set us up for next year. That might get questions.
That's the explanation, you're setting us up.
I'm not answering that one. No, it's a good idea, great idea, just. Should have thought about it in November.
I did.
Told you guys, the first year, once you go through this once, you're gonna be pros for next year.
All right,
No, I didn't.
undesignated fund, can we talk about that?
That's where we're at right now, that's
Okay.
where we're still at, is undesignated funds, so,
I vote 900.
alright, you can't vote, take that note out.
I feel, and I,
Joel,
gotta buy.
Joel has presented for consensus to the council, $900,000. I am good with $900,000. Mallory,
I'm good with 900 and I would be good with up to $1 million.
okay. I will go to Sam and then come to you.
Prior to my answering, I just want to see what the new total expense, municipal expenses.
right here,
Uh,
1.5. 41.76.
that's an additional year over year. What is for example, the beginning proposal was 13 million.
The full number, the
The
budget.
full number.
Yeah.
That,
So it's gonna be this minus the 109. Cause this was played,
She doesn't have the spreadsheet totally exactly oriented.
so
exactly.
this is
Yeah.
gonna be the new amount from taxpayers, the 1.54.
so it'll be, 12, it's 12,953 plus,
The 12 million of 9 minus the 109, hold on, let me just do that.
it's,
Plus.
1,284,464.
There you go.
12,844 468.88. Okay, thank you.
Alright. So we're rolling back. Sam, what say you, we have two two on the table. We have 900 from Joel. Mallory said she'd do 9 or a million. What do you,
Um. Yeah, I think, 950. 900, I'm getting close to that.
Nine.
you picked the right time to bring a sense of humor. Paul, what's?
I would go with a million.
Well,
Okay, I go with a million.
Or 999,000.
We have entertained that in the past, so
I know if you hit a
All
million,
right.
you're gonna like,
so Joel threw out a million. Mallory's good with a million.
no, Joe throw it in.
Jewel threw out 900. Mallory's good with a million. Sam,
I'm good with a million.
Paul,
A million.
consensus is $1 million for overlay.
I'm good with a
Undesigned.
million.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
We are not doing anything after this. We're gonna have another workshop. There was some good questions tonight. All right,
You're taking 100,000 off that because the calculation I did middle of the road at 900.
okay. So,
No, that's not there. That's here down here in the gray and again in the yellow with our changes.
Okay, and we show.
So right here.
I'm giving my own little leftover. So take a million off of that.
so the increase in budget in the town budget from last year, not the tax increase, but the increase in budget is what you have up there right now. Taking a million is 12.68.
12.68 increase.
12.68 increase. So we're good with that being presented to us to make our, you're gonna present the warrant to us on Tuesday.
Correct.
We will vote warrant article by warrant article on Tuesday, so we'll go 1 through however many warrant articles there are. We will take a vote and we will record the votes on what they are. So. And everybody's good with the numbers. We made all the changes everybody wanted. Any last words from anybody?
I'm gonna dig up, the past couple of years for the annual town meeting. We've done a presentation, like 3 or 4 slides to try to kind of like summarize all this. I will dig those up and send them out to the council. I think we should absolutely do something similar. I would welcome any input or feedback from new councilors on that. And I actually think that that's something we should try to have prepared for the public hearing instead of just the annual town meeting. So that should be coming from me in the next few days, and hopefully we can, chat about that, over the next few days.
I don't wanna go down a rabbit hole here, but, and we don't need to. I guess I'm wondering about process timing. I actually thought that we used to hold town meetings in June. I mean, for a number of years, we were holding.
They've been made since I've been here.
I think if you go back, they were in June. I mean, a lot of towns do.
No, they might have been Paul, but since I've been sitting here, they've been made, because they're always around my birthday, they screw it up.
Yeah, that's all right. So. Anyway, I don't know if we're lying.
We have.
I feel like this is sort of compressed. You know, like, we're going to a budget, we're voting on the budget, and then we're having a budget hearing in April 14th.
Yeah.
Correct.
And, you know, I asked Mallory this the other day. I said, you know, when you have a hearing, you know, what if people come and say, you know, they lose their minds? You know, I mean,
You don't have to have a budget meeting on April 14th, you probably do, but you can have another one prior to that if you want. You can have 10 of them if you
well,
want.
no, I don't want
No, so,
to. You know what I'm saying?
no, I do, and here's the
It's a
case in
hearing.
point, we run into this every year. No, they can't speak here, right? We put out an invite, everybody knew we were having budget meetings, they can all send us questions through email to ask anything about this budget. Historically, in my last 12 years, the only people we've ever got questions for, and I will call them out publicly, are the Steinhaups. They usually hit us up for at least 2 or 3 line items with questions about them. And they're usually spot on and they want answers, and they have answers before they ask their questions. But everybody has that option. It is compressed. It was compressed my first and second year, my head was spinning. Now it's old hat because I understand where we're at. But I can understand where you guys are coming from too, but we have to get this done because the school budget vote is on their time frame, and then we vote on both of them in that window. We have to meet their time frame too. And the state and the county and we're making decisions that, again, Sam brought up a point, we're making decisions we don't have all the information for. And now we're gonna hold till August to tell everybody what their taxes are. It's the process. It's terrible, it's the process. Joel, you had something?
You answered.
Damn, good. All right, other than that, everybody, thank you. I will apologize sometimes for my roughness.
Sorry, are we gonna meet on Thursday? Like, I think we need to come up with a game plan for that.
No, nope,
No,
You guys don't wanna talk about process changes for the budget
On Thursday.
not right now, no.
on Thursday? You don't wanna
No.
talk about that on Thursday?
I think, so,
Okay.
my 2 cents while Paul's walking out.
So I can do whatever.
I think,
I don't wanna meet Thursday.
no, I think we need to go through the town meeting. Let you guys see that process. Sam had some good ideas. Joel had some concerns. Let's go through the town meeting with the budget the way it's presented. Let's see what the public's looking for information. You might get some more ideas. We can have a workshop after that for next year.
So,
Sound reasonable?
yeah, so then just confirming for Tuesday, if I can't say this, just stop me. We will be voting on this budget.
We will be voting line for line item on the warrant item.
Fantastic. We are doing, I don't think we have the agenda yet. Are we discussing the FOA as well? The 2 FOA requests?
We don't have to discuss them. We have to give them all of our emails. There's nothing to discuss.
For the specific FOIA request, oh my God, I was waiting for Tim to send us an email with the specific.
Yeah,
I forget about that, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's what I mean, I believe we're required to get information about it.
I'll send it to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. They know what they want. Just gonna hand Jen my.
I will find the thing, I got that.
No, you're, but I also, yeah, you're